Chapter 1364. The space tunnel of the Tao Altar's world was slowly closing, and Lu Ping's divine will was like a flood that had suddenly broken through a dam, rushing out in all directions. Ah! A scream came from a few dozen feet away from Lu Ping. Lu Ping opened his eyes, and before he could figure out where he was, a pair of flying swords had already shot out in the direction of the scream. An early Dharma adept had just come out from the Tao Altar's world when he felt a wave of divine will rush towards him, as if the Milky Way was descending. The adept instinctively gathered his divine will together in an attempt to resist the impact of this wave of divine will. However, the result was obviously very tragic. Just as he fell to the ground, holding his head, from the corner of his eye, he saw a flash of sword light coming towards him. My life is over. Just as the early Dharma adept was about to give up all hope, the excruciating pain that would have caused him to sink into the depths of the abyss did not appear, and the impact from the divine will gradually disappeared as well. The adept raised his head and looked in the direction of the source of the impact, but there was no one there. In the instant that Lu Ping's divine will swept out in all directions, he already knew that he was currently on the west side of West River. He was quite a distance away from the previously agreed meeting place on the south side of the Qingming River. Lu Ping's divine will transformed into a stream of light in the sky, and then disappeared into the clouds, rushing towards the agreed meeting place with Jiang Tianlin before entering the Tao Altar's world. In the desert of West River, the faint sounds of various battles could be heard. The opening and closing of the Tao Altar's world was randomly set when the adepts entered and exited it. The reason why the pure young adepts who opened the Tao Altar's world did so was to prevent large-scale battles between sects due to personal grudges. But even so, it was inevitable that adepts who had personal grudges would coincidentally bump into each other. As a result, battles were naturally inevitable. However, at this time, as long as the scale of the battles did not expand, there would often be pure young adepts who would step in to stop them. In the past, this might have been useful, but this time, it was hard to say. Not to mention the storm caused by the 5 great adepts from the 4 sects. If the 4 sects of the South Sea joined forces with the Skyward Pavilion, the sects of the human race had lost the external threat of Mara's army that was attacking the 9 mystical tower. This time, internal strife seemed to have arisen too quickly and violently. Even if pure young Laozu stepped in to stop such a large-scale conflict, he might not be able to stop it in a short period of time. This was also the reason why Lu Ping was in a hurry to meet up with Jiang Tianlin. Because Zhenling was going to be promoted to a large sect, he would definitely have many enemies in the dark. Moreover, Lu Ping had offended many people in the Central Plains, so it was hard to guarantee that no one would take advantage of the chaos to attack Zhenling at this time. However, the more one wanted to avoid something, the more it would find its way to you. Just as Lu Ping was trying to use the clouds to cover his divine will and rush to the agreed meeting place, he suddenly found that the clouds around him were covered with a layer of black fog, and there were even flashes of lightning from time to time. Lu Ping hurriedly stopped his divine will and even descended from the clouds in a panic. He thought to himself, "Oh no, I forgot about this." The world of the Tao Altar was full of spiritual qi, and there was also the enlightenment of the 7th Patriarch's mantra after a chance encounter. Moreover, the cultivators who could enter the world of the Tao Altar were the best among the cultivators of the same level. With so many reasons, this 1 year of seclusion was enough for many cultivators to push their cultivation to the peak of their realm, and they were only missing the Thunder Tribulation. In the world of the Tao Altar, cultivators naturally would not easily attract the Thunder Tribulation. Moreover, because the Thunder Tribulation in the Minor Kiliacosm was weak and slow, cultivators only needed to try their best to restrain their aura, and naturally, they would not attract the attention of the Thunder Tribulation. However, all of this often changed after the cultivators returned to the world of cultivation. The Thunder Tribulation in the world of cultivation was much more sensitive to the cultivation aura of the cultivators than in the world of the Tao Altar. Many cultivators who had reached the peak of their realm often had too strong a foundation. They could restrain their aura in the Minor Kiliacosm, but when they returned to the world of cultivation, they could not hide their aura from the Thunder Tribulation. Therefore, every time the world of the Tao Altar closed, many of the returning cultivators would attract the Thunder Tribulation because they could not restrain their aura. This was also one of the reasons why the pure young Laozu had randomly summoned everyone to different corners of the desert in the West Riverland. This was to prevent the moment when a cultivator attracted the thunder tribulation, he would also attract other cultivators. At this moment, in front of Lu Ping, there was obviously a cultivator who attracted the thunder tribulation as soon as he left the world of the Tao altar. Lu Ping looked at the scene in front of him. It seemed that this was a mid-Dharma stage cultivator who had summoned the second thunder tribulation. When a cultivator went through the thunder tribulation, the area within a few miles would be the area where the thunder tribulation would gather. For someone like Lu Ping, who was also at the peak of the mid-Dharma stage and could summon the thunder tribulation at any time, he would naturally stay away from such a scene. Lu Ping did not want to advance to the late Dharma stage now. Lu Ping worriedly took a big detour and continued to head towards the shore of the Qingming River. Among the 5 people Zhenling had brought into the Tao altar this time, other than Lu Ping, who could use his powerful divine will to forcibly restrain his aura, and Yin Tianchu, who had just advanced to the mid-Dharma stage less than 2 years ago, did not need to worry about attracting the attention of the thunder tribulation. The other 3 people, Tiancheng Laozu, Lu Tianyuan, and Lei Laolu, were all at the peak of the early Dharma stage and could summon the thunder tribulation at any time. If the 3 of them could not restrain their aura after leaving the Tao altar and attracted the thunder tribulation, it would be fine. But if they failed because they were in a hurry, it would be terrible. When Lu Ping turned around the area where the thunder tribulation was, he could not help but stare at the pitch-black thunder tribulation clouds in the sky in front of him. There was actually another person who had attracted the thunder tribulation. Lu Ping turned around and looked around, his eyes flashing with green and red light. Only then did he stare in shock at the sky above the West Riverland. There were actually 5 or 6 pitch-black thunder tribulation clouds of various sizes, and this was only the area that Lu Ping could see. In the entire West Riverland, how many people would trigger their own thunder tribulations as soon as they left the Tao altar's world? And in the end, how many people would be able to survive the thunder tribulations? When Lu Ping reached the shore of the Qingming River, Lu Tianyuan had already met up with Jiang Tianlin. When he came out of the Tao altar, he was coincidentally on the south side of the West Riverland, not too far from Jiang Tianlin. However, the moment Lu Tianyuan came out of the Tao altar's world, it was quite a test for him. He could clearly sense that there were thunderclouds gathering above his head at that time, and it scared him so much that he hurriedly withdrew his aura. Fortunately, Jiang Tianlin and Lao Zhu discovered him in time and took the risk to help him conceal the surging aura around his body. Only then did they break free from the threat of the thunder tribulation clouds. When the 2 saw Lu Ping, they also felt relieved. Lu Ping didn't ask about the others first. Instead, he looked at the 4 core forging cultivators behind them, frowned, and said, "Why is one missing?" Zhenling had a total of 5 core forging cultivators who entered the 3 secret realms. In addition to the late core forging 3rd-generation disciple, Wu Xianren, there were 4 middle core forging 4th-generation disciples. Lu Ping's 2 disciples, Wang Xuanqi and Du Xinluo, were also among them. However, at this time, there were only 4 core forging cultivators behind Jiang Tianlin and Lao Zhu. In addition to Wu Xianren, who had successfully promoted his cultivation to the 9th layer, Wang Xuanqi and another 4th-generation disciple, Qi Xianzhang, had simultaneously broken through the shackles of the middle core forging stage and promoted their cultivation to the 7th layer. Lu Ping's other disciple, Du Xinluo, had also promoted his cultivation to the 6th layer. But now, there was one less core forging cultivator. Obviously, he had fallen in the 3 secret realms. If Lu Ping remembered correctly, that disciple should also have a cultivation of the 6th layer. Just like Wang Xuanqi and Qi Xianzhang, he was one of the best among the 4th-generation disciples of Zhenling. When Wang Xuanqi heard his teacher's question, he lowered his head and said, "Senior brother Lin has fallen in the secret realms." Lu Ping raised his eyebrows and said, "Do you know who killed him?" Wang Xuanqi said, "It was the Canghai sect and the Taishan sect. The 3 of them besieged senior brother Lin. When we arrived, senior brother Lin could not be saved." A sharp glint flashed across Lu Ping's eyes as he asked, "Do you still remember who those people are?" Wang Xuanqi raised his head and said, "Reporting to Master, those 3 people have been killed by our disciples." After that, We killed 2 more Taishan sect cultivators and did not reveal our identities. Lu Ping nodded in satisfaction and turned to Jiang Tianlin and Lao Zu. Uncle, this Songhai sect should be destroyed. Jiang Tianlin nodded and said, but now we need to slow down. Our sect is now at the critical juncture of becoming a large sect. All the sects in the world of cultivation are eyeing us covetously. We must not be too arrogant. Wait until you reach the late Dharma stage. Lu Ping thought for a moment and finally nodded. He raised his eyes to look into the distance and said, Junior brother Tanchu has returned. As soon as Lu Ping's voice fell, Yin Tianchu's figure landed in the clouds a few dozen feet away. He said, it's chaotic. We have to leave as soon as possible. Jiang Tianlin's expression was a little worried as he looked at the lightning tribulation clouds and chaotic battles that filled West River. He said in a low voice, Junior brother Tiancheng and Lady have yet to return. We will continue to wait. Yin Tianchu nodded, and after saying goodbye to everyone, he disappeared again. Lu Ping knew that he was now cruising around the periphery of the group, observing the situation in West River. After about half an hour, there was a flash of lightning in midair, and Lady's figure appeared from the lightning shield. He said, the 4 sects of the South Sea and the people from the Skyward Pavilion are fighting. The practitioners of the 4 sects of the South Sea killed 2 Dharma adepts of the Skyward Pavilion and turned to flee. It is said that the pure yang of the Skyward Pavilion was furious and personally went after them. Jiang Tianlin nodded and looked even more worried. At this time, even if there were thunder tribulations and chaotic battles, and even if Ancestor Tiancheng came out of the Taoist altar world from the north of the land of Hushi, which was the furthest from here, he should have arrived at this time. Chapter 1365. Another 30 minutes passed. 6 hours had passed since the Taoist altar had closed. Tiancheng Laozu had yet to return. Either he had encountered an enemy, or he had triggered the thunder trial and was currently undergoing his first thunder trial. Lu Ping turned around and said, Uncle Master, I'll go and receive him. Jiang Tianlin stopped him and said, let me go. Your current level of practice is already at the peak of the mid-Dharma stage. If you trigger the thunder trial, it won't be good. Just as the 2 of them were about to argue, Yin Tianchu suddenly sent a message. He said, Uncle Master Tiancheng is back, but the situation doesn't look good. The 2 of them were stunned and became alert. Jiang Tianlin handed the pure yang spiritual treasure to Lu Ping and instructed Lu Tianyuan and Lei Di to protect the 4 core forging adepts as they retreated. Lu Ping did not hesitate either. Although the pure yang spiritual treasure could not appear at the moment, if it was really a matter of life and death, he could not care less about these things. The 2 of them made their own preparations and set off to receive him. After walking for a few miles, they realized that Tiancheng Laozu did not seem to be heading in the direction that they had agreed on. Instead, it seemed like he was going in the opposite direction, as if he was purposely leading someone away from the place where the Zhenling disciples were gathered. Both of their hearts sank, but they still followed the direction that Tiancheng Laozu had left in. They saw that Yin Tianchu had already received Tiancheng Laozu. At this time, Tiancheng Laozu's body was filled with pure yang aura. It was obvious that he had already passed his first thunder trial and was now at the mid-Dharma stage. Seeing that Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin had come to receive him, Tiancheng Laozu yelled, Go! Don't worry about me. The people from Wuxing School are behind us. Not only did Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin not turn around, but they also sped up to Tiancheng Laozu and prepared to leave with him. Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin could both see that Tiancheng Laozu had passed his first thunder trial in a hurry. Although he had received pure yang aura after the thunder trial and the heavenly flower due to nourish his injured body, his injuries were still very serious. After the thunder trial, he had been chased by the Wuxing School, so his pure yang aura had probably not been completely refined yet. If the people from Wuxing School had chased after a few great cultivators, Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin would not have cared. As long as they were not surrounded by the cultivators from Wuxing School, 2 or 3 great cultivators would not be able to do anything to Zhenling. Seeing that Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin were still coming to receive him, Tiancheng Laozu looked a little anxious. However, before he could explain further, Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin had already reached him. Tianqing Laozu then said, "There is a great cultivator from Wuxing School and 2 mid-Dharma adepts following behind us." After being discovered by the old man, they were not in a hurry to kill them. They were fishing and looking for you. After the old man discovered them, he purposely led them away. "Why did you still come after us?" Lu Ping raised his eyebrows and said, "There is only one great cultivator and 2 mid-Dharma adepts. There are only 3 of them?" Tianqing Laozu said, "I could only discover these 3 people." Tianqing Laozu's words made Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin frown. Then, they heard an angry laugh coming from the sky. "Good, good, good. Zhenling, Lu Tianping, you actually dare to attack a great cultivator from your own sect. You really deserve to die." Lu Ping's expression changed instantly. A thick pure yang qi suddenly exploded above everyone's heads. Even the traces of thunder calamity qi in the clouds were pushed away by the pure yang qi. "It's a pure yang adept, the pure yang Laozu of Wuxing School, with Spirit Sun. Haha, you actually know the old man fine. Today I'll let you die knowing the truth." The clouds in the sky shook and condensed rapidly. A huge palm gradually formed, and then came crashing down on top of everyone's heads with a whistling sound. Lu Ping shouted, "All of you run! He's coming for me." When Lu Ping was surrounded by Great Cultivator Gu and 4 other great cultivators in the Taoist altar world, he managed to severely injure the first pure yang candidate of Wuxing School's Earth Elemental lineage, Great Cultivator Gu, when he broke through the siege. Although his cultivation could still recover after that, his original hope of advancing to the pure yang level had been shattered. Moreover, Lu Ping had also taken away the cold white cattail hassock that the people of Wuxing School had painstakingly collected. Even the other great cultivators of Wuxing School who were expected to advance to the pure yang level were also seriously affected. It was no wonder that the pure yang cultivator of Wuxing School was so angry that he wanted to kill Lu Ping personally. Jiang Tianlin stood beside Lu Ping with the One Tribulation spiritual treasure, wood in his hand, and said, "It's too late to leave now. It's not that easy to escape from the pure yang Laozu's pursuit. Why don't we give it our all?" Now is obviously not the time to hesitate. Seeing that Jiang Tianlin had made up his mind to fight against the pure yang cultivator of Wuxing School together with him, Lu Ping did not say anything else. He stamped his feet, and the white feather lotus array bloomed under their feet. Then, auspicious clouds rose around them. It was unknown when Lu Ping had taken out the cloud sail. The 2 of them joined forces in an instant. The huge palm in the sky had already pressed down on them with a momentum like that of a tsunami. However, before the huge palm reached them, a powerful divine sense that was like the whistling of tens of thousands of trees had already pressed down on them. Mu Lingzi obviously wanted to end the battle quickly. Before his divine sense could reach them, he intended to use his majestic divine sense to suppress Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin first. However, this was originally just a probing attack by Mu Lingzi. He did not expect that Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin would specifically wait for this pure yang cultivator's divine sense attack at this time. Both Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin knew that if they wanted to close the gap between their strength in front of a pure yang cultivator, then the only way to save themselves was to make a fuss about the opponent's divine sense attack. Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin's divine sense merged into one. They were not working together to resist the opponent's pure yang divine sense. Instead, they were going against the flow and fighting for the initiative with the opponent. Lu Ping could instantly sense the mockery in Mu Lingzi's eyes. Clearly, Mu Lingzi thought the 2 of them were like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. However, at this moment, Lu Ping's divine sense suddenly condensed into a Jiao dragon. It shook its head and wagged its tail as it rushed towards Mu Lingzi's divine sense. Divine sense manifestation. Mu Lingzi, whose real body was hidden, let out a strange cry. It was obvious that he was shocked by Lu Ping's tyrannical divine sense cultivation. However, Lu Ping's methods did not stop there. Jiang Tianlin's divine sense cultivation was also not weak. Although it was not as heaven-defying as Lu Ping's, it condensed into a barrier of 10,000 trees behind Lu Ping's back. Lu Ping's path of retreat was firmly blocked by Lu Ping. The dragon formed from the divine sense roared in mid-air. A ball of jade-green flame that could only appear in the perception of divine sense suddenly spouted out from the dragon's mouth. In an instant, half of the void above the two's heads was ignited, forming a barrier of fire above the two's heads. A painful groan was heard. Mu Lingzi let out a strange cry, "Jade phosphorus soul fire." His tone was filled with fear. He retracted his pure young divine sense, but the huge cloud hand was already whistling down. The exchange between the two seemed complicated, but everything happened in the blink of an eye. The moment Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin joined forces to defeat the opponent's divine sense attack, the huge palm had already descended above the two's heads. Chapter 1366. The wood's spiritual treasure in Jiang Tianlin's hand suddenly expanded. A giant tree grew taller and more luxuriant, turning into a giant tree that reached the heavens. It collided with the giant cloud hand that was whistling down. Rustle. The giant tree shook violently, and countless branches and leaves fell from the giant tree. Jiang Tianlin seemed to have suffered a heavy blow, and his entire body was forced back several feet. The giant tree that was formed from the spiritual treasure creaked and slowly bent. Then, under Jiang Tianlin's slightly shocked gaze, it suddenly snapped. Jiang Tianlin only felt the blood in his chest churning, and a mouthful of blood slowly flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Jiang Tianlin's first tribulation spiritual treasure had been broken in one strike, but it had already bought enough time for Lu Ping. Lu Ping's sword of true spirit turned into 3 dragons that soared into the sky. Then, they combined into one and slammed into the giant palm. A huge hole appeared in the palm, and a ray of sunlight shone through the hole, dyeing the ground with a strange and dazzling color. "How dare you!" The wood's spiritual sun let out a loud roar of shock and anger. The clouds around the giant palm that had been pierced began to churn, and it began to try to close the huge hole in the palm. But how could Lu Ping let the opportunity that Jiang Tianlin had sacrificed a spiritual treasure to exchange for him be wasted so easily? Just as the sword of true spirit cast the sky opening sword art and pierced through the giant palm, Lu Ping raised his hands and a water droplet glimmering in blue, green, and gold appeared in front of his chest. Then, the water vapor in the surroundings began to gather into the water droplet, and the water droplet began to expand. Lu Ping pushed his palms forward, and the 3-colored water drop flew towards the cloud palm that had been pierced by Lu Ping. Without waiting for the surrounding clouds to close the hole, the 3-colored water drop had already rushed into it. The surrounding clouds began to converge towards this water droplet. The clouds that were originally condensed into a palm seemed to have broken away from Mu Lingzi's control in an instant. The giant hand became increasingly thin, and the tricolored water droplet even began to condense into a huge whirlpool in midair. Not only did the palm that was condensed into a cloud hand disintegrate, even the clouds in the sky within a radius of several miles were drawn in by the whirlpool formed by this water droplet, forming a huge astronomical phenomenon. The pure young cultivator's attack was actually neutralized by Lu Ping's water droplet. Not only that, the huge phenomenon formed by the water droplet clearly contained a counterattack. A spot of brilliance seemed to have been lit up from a very far place, but as it became more and more dazzling, it had unknowingly appeared at a place not far from Lu Ping and the others. With a step forward, the dazzling brilliance seemed to have become the background for the appearance of the pure young Laozu. Wood's spiritual sun seemed to be quite surprised that Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin were actually able to take on his all-out attack together. His gaze shifted between the two, and he said coldly, "No wonder you could defeat the pure young candidate of our sex earth element lineage. You really do have some skills." "Hee, what has made Mugu so angry? Can you tell this old man?" A voice suddenly rang out from behind Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin, causing their faces to brighten up. However, Wood's spiritual sun's face darkened, and he said, "Old man Lin Yu, could it be that you want to interfere in the affairs of my wuxing school?" Lin Yu Laozu leisurely flashed behind Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin and stood together with the two of them. With a hint of mockery at the corner of his mouth, he said, "Interfere? If I remember correctly, there should be enmity between you and me. Isn't it only right and proper for me to intervene?" 2 more lights flashed in the sky, and it was the 2 great cultivators of Wuxing school who had rushed over. One of them was the guardian Laozu that Lu Ping had seen in the Taoist altar world. Lin Yu Laozu glanced at the 2 great cultivators of Wuxing school who had rushed over, and he said with a smile, "Fellow cultivator Mu, with the current strength of your sect, I'm afraid that you won't be able to stop us. If so, we will take our leave." With spiritual sun did not say a word. Lin Yu gave Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin a look, and the 2 of them began to slowly retreat with Lin Yu Laozu until their figures were hidden in the clouds. "Martial uncle, why didn't you chase after them?" This Xinling's Lu Tianping directly made senior brother Gu lose the hope of advancing to the pure yang stage. This time, 4 of the white marble futons that our sect obtained in the Taoist altar world were also with senior brother Gu, but their storage celestial devices were snatched by Xinling. The other great cultivator of Wuxing school who had come with Guardian Laozu was very puzzled that what spiritual sun had let Xinling go. Guardian Laozu, on the other hand, was silent at the side. With the current strength of Wuxing school, even if they attacked with all their strength, they would not be able to take down Xinling, who had the support of a pure yang stage cultivator. Thinking of Lu Tianping's heaven-defying strength, if what spiritual sun was entangled by Lin Yu Laozu, Xinling could easily turn around and attack. "Shut up." What spiritual sun angrily glared at the great cultivator of Wuxing school, then looked at Guardian Laozu and said, "Guardian Heng, how many white marble futons do you still have?" Guardian Laozu's heart was burning with passion, but he did not show it on his face. He said in a deep voice, "I still have 2 more white marble futons, but Martial Niece Shui should have also obtained one in the Taoist altar world." What spiritual sun nodded and said, "When you go back, you should make more preparations. This time, the treasured cauldron will have to consume a lot of energy." Lu Ping and the other 2 quickly caught up with Lu Tianyuan and the others who had left first. The brothers Qin Yu and Qin Gang had already rushed over and met up with Lu Tianyuan and the others. Jiang Tianlin bowed to Lin Yu and said, "This time, we still have to thank Senior for your help." Lin Yu Laozu smiled and said, "It's nothing. It's just that no matter what, the old man did not expect that the 2 of you could actually resist Wood's spiritual sun's attack together. Although Wood's spiritual sun used the space divine ability and did not personally come, he still used his full strength that time." Amazing. Lu Ping did not want to talk more about this. Instead, he asked, "Senior, are you going to travel to the overseas cultivation world this time?" Lin Yu Laozu looked at Lu Ping and said with a smile, "The old man is an independent cultivator and has no fixed residence. It's good for him to travel to the overseas cultivation world. The Qin brothers intend to establish a foundation in the overseas region and reorganize the Luo Xian sect's inheritance. The old man also intends to hand over his inheritance to them. When the time comes, I might have to ask for your help, Zhenling and the others." Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin looked at each other. Jiang Tianlin smiled and said, "That's what we should do. If the Qin brothers have any difficulties, just say the word. Zhenling will do his best." After thinking for a while, Jiang Tianlin asked, "However, I wonder if the Qin brothers have a preliminary idea of where to build the foundation of this sect?" Ancestor Lin Yu looked at the delighted Qin Yu and Qin Gang and sighed in his heart. However, he still put on a smile and said, "Of course, we are not as familiar with the overseas practice world as your esteemed sect. Do you have any good suggestions?" Jiang Tianlin looked at Lu Ping and said, "Originally, I thought it would be better for Senior and the Qin clan brothers to visit the outer seas. But in my opinion, the Fallen Mystic Realm and the Eastern Sea's Northern Sea are not bad places to visit." Jiang Tianlin paused. Seeing that Lin Yu Laozu was still listening with a smile, he continued, "Many overseas sects have established bases in the Fallen Secret Land. However, the Fallen Secret Land has always been chaotic with humans and demons mixed in. If you can find a place to build a foundation and look after them, the Luo Xian sect's inheritance will not be cut off. Moreover, there are many factions in the Fallen Secret Land. The Qin brothers will not attract too much attention. They can take the opportunity to rest and build up their strength. Moreover, our sect also has some business in the Fallen Secret Land, so we can look after each other." Lin Yu Laozu nodded and said, The old man has heard of the fallen secret land. The situation there is chaotic, so it's a good place to hide. However, if the Luo Xian sect wants to expand in the future, it will be a little closed off. The Qin brothers were not very willing to establish a sect in the fallen secret land. Hearing that Lin Yu Laozu had the same idea, they were happy. However, Zhang Tianlin said, if that's the case, the North Sea of the East Sea of the cultivation world is not a bad place. Ever since the North Alliance of the East Sea's cultivation world collapsed, the northern region of the sea has fallen into a period of emptiness. Although the Carefree sect, the Heaven-Splitting Sword sect, and the Water Crystal Palace are fighting with all their might, the three sects are keeping each other in check. The Qin brothers can make use of this opportunity to establish a foundation in the East Sea before planning to expand in the future. Lin Yu Laozu listened carefully to Jiang Tianlin's introduction and nodded repeatedly. However, in the end, he still said, let's go overseas first. We have to see for ourselves which place is suitable. The group traveled east and returned to the East Sea through the long-distance teleporter of the Tianyue sect. After saying goodbye to the Carefree sect, Jinling followed Lin Yu Laozu and the others to tour the North Sea of the East Sea. Then, they entered the fallen secret land and returned to the North Sea through Jingzha Island. Now, Jinling's image in the North Sea was different. After Zhang Tianlin had advanced to the late Dharma stage and Lu Ping had made a name for himself in the Middle Sea, Jinling was now the #1 sect in the North Sea. It was the true existence that dominated the North Sea. All it lacked was a treasure ship, a long-distance teleporter that could connect with the large sects in the Middle Sea, and recognition from the various holy lands in the Middle Sea. The arrival of Lin Yu Laozu and the others was naturally welcomed by Jinling. However, in private, the Qin brothers had many complaints. Senior, why don't we establish a foundation in the North Sea cultivation world and pass on the sect? That's right. The sects in the North Sea cultivation world are the weakest, and we are on good terms with the strongest sect, Jinling. With their help, wouldn't it be easier for us to restore the sect? Lin Yu Laozu sighed and said, how can we allow others to sleep beside us? Jinling has already established itself in the North Sea cultivation world. Would they be willing to let you establish another sect here? What's more, you have a pure young adept standing behind you. Looking at the looks of disbelief on their faces, Lin Yu Laozu continued, if the Luoxin sect's legacy does not end, it will ultimately depend on your own efforts. In the world of cultivation, there is no sect that can continue its legacy with the help of others. If you think that restoring the sect is too difficult, it's not too late to give up now. With the protection of the old man, with your cultivation base, it will not be difficult for you to advance to the mid-Dharma stage in the future. It is even possible for you to pass through the second Thunder trial and become late Dharma adepts. The treasure ship set sail. Chapter 1367. In the main hall of Tianling Mountain, Lu Tianling saw Lu Ping walk in and asked, did Lin Yu and Laozu leave? Lu Ping nodded and said, yes, they've left. I've been showing them around the North Sea's cultivation world for the past few days. I'm sure they've understood the sect's intentions. They'll probably stay in the fallen secret realm and wait for an opportunity to establish their sect. Zhang Tianlin sighed and said, it's extremely difficult to establish a sect. The Qin brothers' aptitude is not bad, but they are not mature enough. If it weren't for the guidance of a pure young cultivator, I'm afraid they would have been destroyed many times before they could establish a foundation. Lu Ping walked to the lower seat of the hall and sat down. Senior Lin, you won't help them too much. At most, he can help them for a while. Whether the Luo Xian sect can rise in the future depends on themselves. Gua Tianshan also asked, by the way, what's up with your disciple, Lei Laolu? Isn't he from the Luo Xian sect? I heard he wants to join our sect. Zhang Tianlin smiled. It's true that he's from the Luo Xian sect, but most of his training came from other fortuitous encounters. He doesn't have much to do with the Luo Xian sect. I've already taken him in as a disciple, and he's gone through his first lightning tribulation. He's currently in seclusion to stabilize his training. He'll come out in about half a year. By then, our sect will have another mid-Dharma cultivator. Mei Tianqin said, it's not a problem for him to join our sect, but his future disciples must be chosen from the Jinling side hall, just like Senior Xiang Lu. Zhang Tianlin smiled. That's right. Celestial Laozu, who was sitting at the head of the hall, suddenly said, no matter what, this good karma must be maintained. The pure yang cultivator may be on our side. You can send a message to Jingzha Island and ask Tianfeng to fully support the Luo Xian sect. Lu Tianling smiled. Of course. In the main hall, the sect leader, Lu Tianling, sat in the middle. The two great practitioners, Tianxiang Laozu and Zhang Tianlin, sat side by side with Lu Tianling. Below them were Zhenling's group of mid-Dharma adepts, Mei Tianqin, Gua Tianshan, Chu Tianqing, Lu Tianping, and Yin Tianchu. After Tian Fan Laozu's death, Tian Shui Laozu became more and more depressed. After returning to the Northern Sea, he went to the Frost Island to guard the Spirit Stone Mine. At the same time, he studied the 7-colored restriction-breaking talisman technique by himself. After Lu Ping returned to the North Sea, he made a trip to Frost Island and gave her the incantations he had obtained from the world of the Tao altar that explained how to break through talismans. However, at that time, Tian Shui Laozu's hair was already snow-white, and her face was haggard. She was no longer as forceful and bold as before. Instead, she had a hint of benevolence and serenity, causing Lu Ping to feel a little disappointed. At this time, Liang Tianfeng was guarding the frozen island in the perished secret realm, observing the current situation of the Eastern Sea training world. He was managing the forces that Zhenling had secretly expanded after the collapse of the Northern Alliance. Although Shanglo Laozu was a senior of the same generation as Tian Xiang and Tian Shui, he was like Lei Laolu. When it came to matters related to Zhenling's grand plan, the two of them naturally did not have the right to participate. In the few months after returning to Zhenling, Lu Tianyuan and Lei Di had both successfully passed their first Thunder Calamity and advanced to the Middle Dharma stage. However, at this time, both of them were in seclusion to consolidate their cultivation. Although Lu Tianyuan had the right to participate, he did not have the time to participate in this gathering. Seeing that almost everyone had arrived, Lu Tianling said, now that our sect has 2 great cultivators, we have the qualifications to become a large sect. The 2 large sects of the Central Plains, Tianqian sect and Tianyue sect, are willing to guarantee for our sect as the destination for building the long-distance teleportation portal. The treasured ship has also basically been repaired. Today, I have gathered everyone here to ask for everyone's opinion. Is it time for our sect's treasured ship to set sail? Lu Ping was surprised. Now? Lu Tianling smiled. Of course not. The treasured ship's departure involves a lot of things. The selection of cultivators, the allocation of various resources, all kinds of adaptive training before setting sail, coordination, and also, once the treasured ship sets sail, it will take at least 1/3 of our sect's strength. The sect will definitely be in an extremely weak period. At this time, we must consider the countermeasures that our sect should take, the reactions of the Northern Sea sects, the attention from the Eastern Sea and the Central Plains, etc. Once all these things are prepared, the treasured ship will only be able to set sail after at least half a year. Lu Ping nodded and did not speak anymore. These past few decades, he had not been in the Northern Sea. After returning to the Northern Sea for a few months, he had been by Lin Yu Laozu's side, so he was not too familiar with the current situation of the sect. Therefore, most of the time, he would listen to the other Laozu's discussions. Yin Tianchu was the same as Lu Ping. When it came to the status of the sect, Yin Tianchu was below Lu Ping. Both of them were the only 3rd-generation cultivators in the main hall. Since Lu Ping did not speak, Yin Tianchu only brought his ears. Mei Tianqin obviously advocated for the treasured ship to set sail as soon as possible. Since everything is ready, it is naturally better to set sail as soon as possible. Now that we have experienced the Battle of the 9 Mystical Tower, all the sects have suffered a lot along the way, and the current situation in the Central Plains and the Eastern Sea is also extremely advantageous to us. It is better to be cautious. Although the current situation is advantageous to us, ever since Brother Jiang advanced to the late Dharma stage, the various small movements of the Northern Sea sects have suddenly stopped. I feel a little uneasy, so it is better to figure out what they are doing. Gua Tianshan had always been prudent, and this time, the treasured ship setting sail to become a large sect could be said to be the first time Zhenling had done this since the founding of the sect. To put it bluntly, Guo Tianshan himself was not confident. Chu Tianqing said without thinking, "What is strange about this? Brother Jiang advanced to a great cultivator, so everyone is afraid." Everyone did not comment on Chu Tianqing's words. Only he would think so simply. Mei Tianqing continued, "According to the news, Wuxing School and the Nine Mystical Tower have suffered heavy losses after the Battle of Luo Xian Mountain and the siege of Mara's army. The Nine Mystical Tower has even sealed itself for 100 years and has no time to care about other things. The Purple Sun Palace has lost a pure yang in the Battle of the Nine Mystical Tower. Now that the demons of the Western Wilderness have joined forces to attack the city, the Purple Sun Palace can no longer focus on the Central Plains cultivation world. The Lingyun Valley is being held back by the demons of the Endless Mountain. The Skyward Pavilion is also in conflict with the four sects of the Southern Sea. The Crystal Palace of the Eastern Sea is also being held back by Skyrend and the Green Sea Snakes. The six Holy Lands have no time to care about other things, and the Heavenly Shin sect is still being threatened by Mara and Lin Hai. When has the Heavenly Moon sect been in a good situation all these years? At this time, we are supporting the two sects with the treasure ship. It can be said that we are sending charcoal in snowy weather. It will also be of great help to our sect status in the cultivation world. With the support of these sects, it will also be of great benefit to our sect in the future in the overseas cultivation world." At this time, Celestial Phenomenon Laozu suddenly interrupted and said, "Junior brother Tianjiang's lifespan is coming to an end." Everyone was silent. Tianjiang Laozu had been racking his brains over the years to repair the treasure ship, and his lifespan had long come to an end. His lifelong hope was to see the treasure ship set sail with his own eyes and Zhenling sect become a large sect. Otherwise, he would not have taken the supreme-grade longevity pills refined by Lu Ping to extend his lifespan. But even so, after the treasure ship was completely repaired, Tianjiang Laozu, who had always been supported by his faith, had also reached the end of his life. At this time, being able to let Tianjiang Laozu see the treasure ship set sail was at least a spiritual comfort for the old man. Everyone looked at Jiang Tianlin. After Celestial Phenomenon Laozu spoke, his opinion was the most important in the main hall. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tianlin shrugged his shoulders and pouted at Lu Ping. He said, "Kid, what do you think?" Chu Tianqing laughed on the spot. Although the others were not surprised that Jiang Tianlin had always stayed out of things at this time, they could not help but laugh. A serious discussion that concerned the future of the sect was instantly dispelled by his words. Being called out, Lu Ping naturally did not have the right to push things around like Jiang Tianlin. Holding back the laughter in his heart, Lu Ping organized his words and said, "After the Taoist altar world closes, the third-generation disciples will gradually advance to the late Dharma stage." Everyone was stunned. Celestial Phenomenon Laozu asked, "How much longer do you need?" Lu Ping said without thinking, "Any time. It's just that I don't want too many people to know." Lu Tianling said in a low voice, "You're saying that someone wants to harm our sect?" "Just in case." Lu Ping thought for a while and said, "Just like what Uncle Tianshan said, our sect becoming a large sect is a disaster for the sects in the North Sea. They will definitely not be indifferent. In fact, the sects in the North Sea are not a concern for our sect now. The real danger is outside the North Sea." Jiang Tianlin also asked, "Then when do you think the treasure ship will set sail?" Lu Ping said, "I need about 1 or 2 years to consolidate my cultivation." Celestial Phenomenon Laozu made the final decision and said, "I'll give you 3 years. After 3 years, the treasure ship will set sail. What does the sect leader think?" Lu Tianling thought for a while and said, "Okay, but who will be in charge of the treasure ship this time? Will Lu Tianping leave with the treasure ship?" Celestial Phenomenon Laozu said, "The old man is old. It's hard to leave his homeland. Just leave this matter to Tianlin." Lu Tianling looked at Lu Ping again, and Lu Ping said, "I'll stay in the North Sea. With Uncle Master in charge of the treasure ship, even a pure yang cultivator will not be able to do anything." Mei Tianqin frowned and said, "You're saying that the danger might be coming for the North Sea?" Lu Ping said, "The treasure ship is not the foundation of the sect. If someone wants to attack the sect, they will definitely not give the sect a chance to breathe. Not to mention that the treasure ship has no fixed location on the sea. Not to mention that it is extremely difficult to determine its exact location. Its power is also much stronger than the Northern Alliance's treasure ship that sailed into the river and became a live target. Lu Tianling nodded and said, "Then tell me who else will be going with the treasure ship to the Central Plains this time." At the same time, how to select the core forging disciples to control the treasure ship needs to be planned in the long term. After all, there might be 2 or 3 third-generation disciples entering the aspect stage in 3 years. Chapter 1368. The next time Lu Ping saw Chen Lian was during the ship's trial. The entire Jinling sect fell into a state of shock when the 500-1 600 feet long, 100 feet wide ship sailed out from the back of Tianling Mountain. Back then, when Lu Ping discovered the place where Fei Ling sect's treasured ship had sunk deep in the sea outside Frost Island, the Jinling sect's avatar cultivators had spent a great deal of effort to secretly move the ship's wreckage into the forbidden area behind Tianling Mountain. In order to keep it a secret, not only did the sects of the North Sea not know about this, but even in Jinling, other than the Dharma adepts, only the weapon forging hall, the talisman-making pavilion, and a few spell formation masters of Jinling knew about this because they had to repair the ship. After Jiang Tianlin had advanced to the late Dharma stage, most of the Jinling sect cultivators, as well as the various sects in the North Sea, had been silently estimating that Jinling sect would need at least a few decades before they could build a brand new treasure ship and advance to become a large sect. Who would have thought that Jinling sect would unbelievably come up with such a huge object in the forbidden area behind Tianling Mountain? The entire Jinling was in disbelief when they heard the news. Then, they swarmed to the back of the mountain to watch the ship's trial. After that, all the cultivators of Jinling, be it the core forging stage, the blood condensation stage, or even the blood refining stage disciples who had just learned how to use their artifacts to fly, went into a frenzy. These disciples flew up and down the slowly moving ship with all kinds of lights behind them. There were even some disciples who fell into the sea while they were enjoying themselves. Those were the blood refining realm disciples who were too engrossed in their flight and didn't even realize that their arcane energy had been depleted. As a result, they could only fall into the sea, causing the Jinling sect cultivators who were watching the trial run to burst into laughter. The trial of Jinling's ship caused the entire Jinling to be in a state of ecstasy. It was as if this ship's trial was like an official diplomatic mission for Jinling. The news of Jinling's sudden trial of the treasured ship was like a boulder that had been thrown into a pond. It was no longer just a few ripples, but a great uproar. The scope of the impact was not only limited to a corner of the North Sea's cultivation world. How could Jinling suddenly have a treasured ship? This was impossible. Jinling's rise to prominence was already fast enough, but the sects of the North Sea had never discovered any signs of Jinling building a treasure ship. The construction of a treasured ship was a huge project to begin with, and it was also a heavy burden. In the eyes of the sects of the North Sea, Jinling had risen so quickly. With the barren cultivation world of the North Sea, most of Jinling's resources should have been used on the cultivation of their disciples. How could they have any spare energy to build a treasured ship? Even if Jinling met the qualifications to be promoted to a large sect and started building a treasured ship with all its might, it would be impossible for it to succeed without several decades of effort. This was under the condition that there were no twists and turns in the process of building the treasured ship. It must be known that the process of building a treasured ship was not smooth sailing. It involved many secret techniques related to weapon refinement, formations, talismans, spirit veins, grotto heavens, and so on. As a sect that had never experienced a large sect, how could they guarantee that the process of building a treasured ship would not be affected? What was even more unexpected was that as an overseas sect that had just reached the threshold of becoming a large sect, in order to save cultivation resources and shorten the time needed to advance, the first treasured ship they built was usually a small treasured ship that was around 300 meters long. Then, as the strength of the sect increased, the treasured ship would be expanded to become a medium-sized treasured ship that was 150 meters long. However, this time, Jinling directly sailed out from the back of Tianling Mountain with a medium-sized ship that was 500 to 600 feet in length. It was even considered extremely large among medium-sized treasured ships. This was a treasure ship that could only be built by those large sects that had deep foundations overseas. The bigger the treasured ship, the more sturdy it was and the more powerful it was. In the overseas cultivation world, it also meant that the sect's strength was stronger. Jinling's plans were great. The North Sea cultivation world, which was already jittery because of Jiang Tianlin's advancement to the late Dharma stage, had even fallen into despair when Jinling's treasured ship suddenly set sail. The rise of Jinling was unstoppable. On the deck of the treasured ship, the senile Tianjiang Laozu looked at the back of Tianling Mountain, which was getting smaller and smaller in the distance. He also looked at the treasured ship, which was illuminated by the magic of the Jinling cultivators who were cheering. He laughed happily and shouted, "Old man's wishes fulfilled. Old man's wishes fulfilled. I have no regrets even if I die. I have no regrets even if I die." Chunlian was originally cheering as the treasured ship set sail. However, at this time, because Tianjiang Laozu was nearing the end of his lifespan, all the affairs on the treasured ship had been handed over to Chanlian. After Lu Ping met Tianjiang Laozu and instructed the sect disciples to take care of the old man, he went straight to Chanlian. "Are you here to see the great way of the 9 dragon bells?" Chunlian was very clear about the purpose of Lu Ping's visit. Although Jinling's treasured ship set sail was a big deal, North Sea Water Sword Immortal had seen everything. During the Battle of Phantom City, Lu de Sword Immortal had witnessed how the 6 Debao ships rampaged through Mara's army. Not to mention that Jinling's treasured ship was only a medium-sized one. He had even been in close contact with the large treasured ship of the Crystal Palace. He was lucky enough to board the ship during the battle, but he could only look at it from the deck. Of course, outsiders were not allowed to enter the interior of the treasured ship. But even if Lu Ping could enter the interior of Jinling's treasured ship, he still knew nothing about the things inside. At most, he would only be able to see something new. After returning to the North Sea, Lu Ping sorted out the contents of Daoist whose incantations and handed them over to Chen Lian. Chen Lian naturally treated them like a treasure, especially the contents related to blacksmithing. Chen Lian repeatedly pondered over them like he was intoxicated. The so-called Great Way of the 9 Dragon Bells was actually the Sea Bell. This time, the Great Way of the 9 Dragon Bells brought back by Jinling from the Taoist altar were enough to refine 8 sea bells. And Lu Ping privately asked Chen Lian to refine another one, using the broken pedestal stone engraved with dragon-shaped relief that Lu Ping brought back from the Taoist altar. This bell was called the Great Way of the 9 Dragon Bells by Lu Ping. Different from the 8 sea bells refined by Jinling, the Great Way of the 9 Dragon Bells refined by Lu Ping not only had 9 dragon-shaped reliefs on the surface of the bell, but the most important thing was that there was a natural device spirit in the bell, which called itself a dragon. Naturally, Lu Ping despised this arrogant dragon-shaped relief greatly. How dare it call itself a dragon? At best, it was evolved from a mantra thought of Jiao Daoren. Even Jiao Daoren himself called himself a flood dragon, so how dare it call itself a dragon? The dragon-shaped relief naturally knew that it was not confident enough. But in this cultivation world, aside from Lu Ping, there seemed to be no one who could see through its tricks. Naturally, the dragon-shaped relief enjoyed this majestic title with a clear conscience. Of course, although the Great Way of the 9 Dragon Bells was refined according to the method of the Sea Bell, there were still many differences. In order to create its own hiding place, the dragon-shaped relief naturally did not dare to hold back at all. Be it in terms of power or other magical uses, the 9 Dragon Bells were much stronger than the other sea bells. Moreover, because of the dragon-shaped relief, there was a mysterious connection between the 9 Dragon Bells and the other 8 sea bells. Once the 9 Dragon Bells and the other 8 sea bells were placed together, they could form a powerful formation under the main formation of the 9 Dragon Bells. How is it? Did the refinement process go smoothly? Lu Ping asked with a smile. Chunlian replied, "This is really not an easy task. Although the refinement process of the 9 Dragon Bells is complicated, with my current artifact refinement techniques, I am barely able to control it. However, there is an artifact spirit hidden within this magic treasure. It will not be easy to not damage it. Besides, I have never come across this kind of refinement method before. How can an artifact spirit exist without going through lightning tribulation? The quality of this 9-dragon bell is so high that it will be able to withstand lightning tribulation in the future. Will another artifact spirit be born after it withstands lightning tribulation? How will the two of them get along? As the two of them conversed, they arrived at a specially opened artifact refinement room on the treasured vessel. Chen Lian's words were overheard by the dragon-shaped relief on the 1-meter-tall bronze bell in the center of the room. The 9 dragon-shaped reliefs on the bronze bell swam at the same time, looking very strange. However, there seemed to be a mysterious connection between the 9 reliefs. One of the reliefs suddenly said, "Naturally, the lightning tribulation has to be endured. Otherwise, how can it become a spiritual treasure? However, the artifact spirit will not appear. The power of the lightning tribulation will be directed at me, and the pure yang qi will be absorbed by me." Chun Lian was puzzled. This is completely different from what I know. The dragon-shaped relief snorted and said, "I have told you long ago, I am not a relief. I am a demon, a spirit demon. Just like the Dharma manifestation cultivators of the human and demon clans, if I want to grow, I also need to undergo lightning tribulation. Why can't you understand it?" Chun Lian looked at Lu Ping. Lu Ping smiled bitterly and said, "For the time being, let's call it a demon." Chun Lian naturally would not pester him on this matter. He pointed to the 9-dragon bell and said, "I have already imprinted the 9 treasures on this bell. Apart from the dragon inside, this 9-dragon bell is already a genuine top-notch spirit-nurturing magic treasure. All it needs is the nourishment of your true essence to slowly increase the power of this magic treasure." Lu Ping stretched out his hand, and the 3-meter-tall bell shrunk to the size of a bell and fell into Lu Ping's hand. He flicked it with his finger, and the zhang zhang sound was crisp and melodious. By the way, now that the treasured vessel is testing, your matters are almost done. Chapter 1369. For Zhenling, the ship's trial was a chance to summarize the ship's experience and fix the ship's flaws. At the same time, it was also a chance to shock the North Sea training world and announce Zhenling's position as the ruler of the North Sea. In just a few months, the ship passed by Frost Island, Scarlet Mist Island, and stopped at the islands where the other 7 large and medium-sized sects were stationed, even including Zhenling's old enemy, Xianling sect. However, Songhai sect was not among them. After returning from Xianling sect, the treasured ship went straight to Huangli Island, but it did not return. Instead, it turned east and went to the deep-sea demon region. Without much effort, it destroyed 18 camps of the demon clan, killing 5 Dharma adepts of the demon clan and countless other low-level adepts. In the end, it even alerted 3 late Dharma adepts of the demon clan. However, when faced with the huge ship, the 3 adepts wisely chose to retreat. In the end, they had no choice but to send envoys to sue for peace and offered a large amount of training resources. The demon race retreated east and gave up 3,000 miles of neutral sea as Zhenling's territory. This made Huangli Island the central island of Zhenling's new territory. After that, Zhenling officially announced that Huangli Island was open to the demon race. Humans and demons could communicate with each other in Zhenling. Zhenling could obtain all kinds of rare treasures from the deep-sea demon region through Huangli Island. Zhenling also sent 3 mid-Dharma adepts, Lu Tianping, Yin Tianchu, and Lei Di, to guard Huangli Island to intimidate the demon race. However, Lu Ping had already left for Yankun Island after the ship arrived at Frost Island. Yankun Island was one of the 36 medium-sized islands under Zhenling's jurisdiction. It was extremely close to Tianling Mountain, but it was also extremely desolate. As a medium-sized sect, Yankun Island's training resources were considered the poorest among the 36 medium-sized islands. Normally, the 36 medium-sized Zhenling Islands would be guarded by late core forging cultivators. Only a few of the poorest islands would be guarded by mid-core forging cultivators. Because Yankun Island was very close to Heaven Spirit Mountain, there were times when the island didn't even have a guardian. Although Yankun Island looked desolate on the outside, it was heavily guarded on the inside. When Lu Ping arrived at Yankun Island, he discovered that there were at least 3 early Dharma adepts and 7 or 8 late core forging adepts hiding on the island. Senior brother Tianyong, it's been a few years since we last met. You've also advanced to the Dharma realm. Tianyong was overjoyed to see Lu Ping. He immediately said, "Don't mention it. Staying in this godforsaken place is really suffocating. I heard Junior Marshall brother and the others had a great time in the Middle Lands. I'm really envious." Tianyong was overjoyed to see Lu Ping. Lu Ping laughed and said, "I'm the one envious of senior brother's carefree life." Tianyong waved his hand in annoyance and said, "Carefree my ass. I'd rather go out and fight with people. However, I heard that the elixir you refined healed Master's injuries. Now that Master has successfully advanced to the mid-Dharma stage, Tianyong has to thank you." After saying that, Tianyong really bowed to Lu Ping, scaring Lu Ping so much that he quickly dodged and said, "Senior brother, what are you doing? Uncle Master Tianqing has helped me a lot. It's my duty to help him refine elixirs and heal his injuries." Tianyong laughed and said, "Let's not talk about this. Let's not talk about this. Speaking of which, why did you come to Yankun Island this time?" Lu Ping nodded and said, "Yes, I'm here for something important." Tianyong said casually, "You're here to look for that brat Deng Xianming, right? You've brought back a great talent for our sect. Even Uncle Master Xinshan herself said that this brat was born to be a genius in formations. His attainments in formations are so great that even she can't compare to him. It's just that not long after he came to our sect, he was sent to this lousy place. I heard that it was Celestial Phenomenon Laozu's idea?" Lu Ping nodded. Tianyong continued to ask, "Speaking of which, this brat is so mysterious. All these years, he's practically covered the entire Yankun Island with formations. What is he trying to do?" This brat's mouth is tightly sealed. No matter how we ask him, he only smiles, and he even smiles very proudly. He doesn't want to say anything. This angered old Yao so much that he wanted to break his front teeth. Lu Ping smiled mischievously and said, "You want to know?" Tianyong hurriedly nodded and said, "All these years, not just in the North Sea training world, but even within our sect, not many people know that old Yao is already a Dharma adept. He's been guarding this lousy island all this time, and no one knows what he's doing. He's been so stifled." Lu Ping laughed and said, "As long as senior brother survives your first lightning tribulation, you'll naturally understand the purpose of this Yankun Island. However, you're not the only Dharma adept on this island. You can always spar with the two of them." Tianyong retracted the anxious look on his face and said, "So you're just making fun of me? The other two Dharma adepts on this island are Uncle Master Tian San and Senior Sister Tian Hui. How can they spar?" Upon hearing this, Lu Ping paused and said, "Senior Sister Tian Hui is also on the island?" Tianyong sighed and said, "Yes, and so is her son. After senior brother Tian passed away, senior sister Tian Hui came to this island and has not left since." Lu Ping was stunned and said, "Senior sister Tian Hui is also on the island?" After the two of them paid their respects to Tian San and Laozu, they went to visit Tian Hui. When the two of them arrived at a forest, they saw a beautiful woman in her 30s giving pointers to a young practitioner of about 20 years of age in swordsmanship. Tianyong and Lu Ping stood outside the forest and watched the young man practice swordsmanship. This young man was only at the early core forging stage, and the swordsmanship he was practicing was a normal wood-based swordsmanship from Jinling's legacy. If it was Spring Dawn, when it reached a higher level, it could also become a small magical swordsmanship. Both of them were now Dharma adepts Laozu, and they were high-level practitioners in the cultivation world. Naturally, they could see through a minor repairs cultivator at a glance. Tianyong chuckled and said, "This young man has some talent. If he is trained well, he might be able to become a fourth-generation disciple in the Dharma adept stage in the future. This way, senior brother Tian will have a successor." After the young man finished practicing a set of swordsmanship, Tian Hui casually gave him some pointers. Although she did not practice swordsmanship with her cultivation, it was not difficult for her to give pointers to a core forging cultivator. When Lu Ping and Tianyong walked into the forest, Tian Hui turned around and was surprised to see Lu Ping. The young man naturally knew Tianyong. All these years he had been living in seclusion on Yankun Island. He had received many pointers from this uncle master. However, he was not very familiar with Lu Ping. Greetings, senior sister. Tian Hui was originally the eldest disciple under Tian Qin Laozu. Lu Ping and the other practitioners from the Chonghua sect would not call her senior sister, but senior sister. Junior brother Tian Ping, how did you come to Yinkuren Island? Tian Hui pointed at Lu Ping in front of her and said to the young man beside her, hurry up and greet your uncle Master Tian Ping. When the young man knew that the person in front of him was the famous North Sea Water Sword Celestial, he was already stunned. When he heard his mother's instructions, he hurriedly said, Disciple Xian Hua greets Uncle Master Tian Ping. All these years, Lu Ping's reputation as the North Sea Water Sword Celestial had shaken the entire cultivation world. Among the 4th and 5th generation practitioners of Zhenling, he had become a legendary existence. The biggest impact on the younger generation of Zhenling was that there were more and more people practicing swordsmanship. Lu Ping smiled and nodded. He suddenly said, your swordsmanship cultivation is not bad among the disciples of the same level. Who is your master now? Xian Hua's expression darkened. He said, I have always been cultivating with father. Lu Ping nodded and sighed. Your swordsmanship cultivation has reached a bottleneck. It's fine if you don't practice the spring dawn swordsmanship. After all, you won't have much success. It will also restrict your vision and knowledge of swordsmanship. It will be troublesome when you wake up in the future and want to break free. I have some things to do these days, and it's inconvenient for me to not have my disciples by my side. Are you willing to listen to me? Xian Hua was naturally very willing to be taught by the North Sea Water Sword Celestial. However, he still looked at his mother. Lu Ping said with a smile, Senior sister, I need to borrow your son for a few days. Please allow me. Tian Hui naturally knew that Lu Ping had the intention to nurture her son. She was grateful and quickly said, Junior brother, what are you saying? It's Xian Hua's fortune to listen to you. With Lu Ping's current status, not to mention a junior, even the 3rd generation disciples of the same generation might not be worthy of Lu Ping's guidance. The 3 of them chatted for a while. Lu Ping then said, it's getting late. We should go see how junior brother Deng's preparations are going. Zhenling's formation lineage had always been led by perfected Xianqin. As the only formation grandmaster before Zhenling, perfected Xianqin had put all his effort into repairing the various formations and talismans on the treasured ship. However, after Lu Ping introduced Deng Ming to Zhenling from the South Sea, perfected Xianqin greatly admired his formation cultivation. In the years that followed, although Deng Ming became perfected Xuanqin's disciple, Deng Ming's cultivation and formation had already surpassed him. He was the number 1 in formation in Zhenling. After that, because perfected Xuanqin's lifespan was getting longer and he had less energy, an important matter that Zhenling's high-level cultivators had planned fell on Deng Ming. Deng Ming stayed on Yinkan Island for many years. When Lu Ping saw Deng Ming again, he was already at the 9th level of the core forging stage. It was clear that Zhenling had spared no effort in supporting his cultivation. Deng Ming's talent in formations was undeniable. His own cultivation foundation was also much higher than perfected Xuanqin's. Perfected Xianqin had already lost all hope of advancing to the Dharma stage. Zhenling naturally did not want Deng Ming to follow in perfected Xuanqin's footsteps. Thus, he naturally put in a lot of effort to nurture him, hoping that he could become a Dharma stage formation grandmaster. Junior brother Xianqin, long time no see. How have you been? Deng Ming saw that Lu Ping was a little impatient and said, Brother Lu, I have spent many years setting up layers of formations on the entire Yinkan Island. The sect should let me know why you have set up such a huge formation and even sacrificed Yinkan Island, right? Lu Ping smiled and said, There's no rush. You will know the answer soon. However, to get to the bottom of it, junior brother Deng, you will have to suffer for many years. Chapter 1370. A streak of light streaked across the night sky, trying its best to conceal its tracks. Finally, it landed on an empty patch of sea. Lu Ping, Deng Ming, and Xian Hua appeared in this place. Lu Ping's divine sense spread out like a tide, and nothing happened within the coverage of his divine sense. Lu Ping waved at the 2, and his body had already dived into the sea. The 3 of them dived for more than 1,000 feet, And when Xianhua's Jinqi reached its limit, a bright bead suddenly rose from Lu Ping's hand, and the surrounding water pressure suddenly dissipated, and the three of them continued to dive into the depths of the sea. Deng Ming looked at the bead on top of Lu Ping's head, bowed his head for a moment, and suddenly said in surprise, "Is it the water-repelling moon pearl?" Lu Ping laughed and said, "Yes, it is the water-repelling moon pearl." The three of them dived tens of thousands of feet deep into the sea. Only then did they vaguely see an undersea cliff. After diving down for more than 10,000 feet, a stone platform with a circumference of hundreds of feet abruptly protruded from the undersea cliff. On the stone platform, there was an exquisite formation. It's a teleportation array. This teleportation array naturally couldn't be hidden from Deng Ming, a formation master. However, looking at the bewildered and uncertain formation master, it seemed that he had guessed something from the teleportation stone platform that had suddenly appeared in the deep sea, but he really didn't dare to confirm it. In his opinion, this teleportation array seemed to have been tampered with by someone, and it couldn't be activated at all. Lu Ping laughed and stepped on the stone platform with the two of them. Then, he fiddled with it for a while, and then inlaid the spirit stones in several places on the stone platform, and then said to Deng Ming, "This kind of teleportation array, can junior brother Deng break it?" Deng Ming thought for a moment and said, "This is a secret array, slightly different from ordinary teleportation arrays. It is difficult for outsiders to break it, but it is not easy to find such a stone platform thousands of feet deep in the sea." Lu Ping made a few hand signs, and the teleportation array was activated. A dark light flashed at the bottom of the sea, and the three of them disappeared from the stone platform. Buzz! A light flashed, and in a secret underwater cave, Lu Ping and the other two suddenly appeared here. Deng Ming felt a great crisis hanging over his head, as if his life would be taken away at any time. Xianhua, the early-stage core forging minor repairs, also seemed to feel the same, and the moment they appeared in the secret underwater cave, they also felt a burst of fear. This feeling appeared extremely abruptly, but also disappeared extremely quickly. It was as if in that instant, the dangerous existence hidden in this secret underwater cave had instantly discerned that the three of them were friends and not enemies. Lu Ping seemed to have never felt that kind of abyss-like, dangerous aura. The moment he appeared in the secret underwater cave, he just glanced around with a smile, and then walked out with the two of them. In a clear pool, the three of them slowly rose into the air, and the rich spiritual qi hit them in the face. Deng Ming and Xianhua were stunned by everything that suddenly appeared in front of them. After a long time, Xianhua said, "Isn't this the secret place of inheritance of our sect that Father once mentioned, the inside of a magic treasure?" Lu Ping smiled and said nothing. On the side, Deng Ming saw a giant mountain in the distance, which seemed to have been cut off by someone, and a green belt of water winding down from the top of the mountain until it converged into the pool under their feet. He shook his head and said, "What kind of magic treasure can support such a giant mountain? If I'm not mistaken, isn't this the location of the famous Fei Ling sect's Fei Ling Mountain?" Before Lu Ping could say anything, Xianhua was the first to jump in fright. As the only large sect in the North Sea for tens of thousands of years, even though the Fei Ling sect had already been destroyed, it was still very famous in the North Sea cultivation world. The only large island in the North Sea, Fei Ling Island, had been destroyed by a Dharma adept who risked his life to activate a forbidden formation. Since then, the island had sunk to the bottom of the sea. Only once every 500 years would a blood condensation cultivator be allowed to enter Fei Ling Island to investigate. As a native North Sea cultivator, how could Xianhua not know about this? Fei Ling Island only opens every 500 years, and with our level of cultivation, we can't enter. Lu Ping looked up to the sky and laughed, unable to hide his pride. This is Fei Ling Island in the North Sea, and that giant mountain is Fei Ling Mountain, where Fei Ling sect used to live. What do the two of you think? Really? Doesn't that mean that our sect will have a giant island and a giant spirit vein in the future? Xianhua was pleasantly surprised. This is the foundation of Zhenling's legacy. I, Xin Ming, finally understand what Yinkuan Island has been up to all these years. I'm lucky to be able to participate in it. Deng Ming's face flashed with a hint of fanaticism, as if he was going to accomplish something earth-shattering through his hands. That's why I brought Junior Brother Deng here. In the next few years, I'm afraid Junior Brother Deng will have to stay in the deep sea for a few more years. Deng Ming laughed. To be able to personally participate in such a great event, even if Senior Brother wants me to leave, I'd rather die than leave. Not long after the three of them left the secret underwater cave, 3 rays of light were already flying towards them from the top of Fei Ling Mountain. Lu Ping was surprised and went up to them. Senior Uncle, I haven't seen you for a few decades. How have you been? I didn't expect you to be the one in charge here. The white-haired and bearded Tianlu Laozu chuckled. Very good, very good. To be able to see Fei Ling Mountain in my lifetime, the old man can die without regrets. Your senior uncle Tianqin is in charge of the Elixir Pavilion. The old man can stay on Fei Ling Island for the rest of his life. Lu Ping hurriedly said, Senior uncle, you will live a long life. Whether Fei Ling Island can be restored to its former glory depends on senior uncle's presence. Tianlu Laozu smiled. The old man only uses his words, not his fists. On Fei Ling Island, you can be considered to be bossy and bossy. With the help of the fellow Taoists you've invited, the restoration has been greatly accelerated. After greeting Tianlu Laozu, Lu Ping cupped his hands towards the 2 people beside him. Senior uncle, senior brother Tianshang. Tianqing Laozu glanced at the 2 people behind Lu Ping and said, This time, you're going to trigger the second lightning tribulation. Are you completely confident? Lu Ping smiled. Who dares to say that they are completely confident? However, I am 70 to 80% confident. Tianqing Laozu nodded. Only Lu Ping would dare to say that he was 70 to 80% confident. However, Tianqing Laozu was more or less confused because of his concern. He thought that Jinling could produce a 3rd Grand Cultivator so that Jinling's status as a large sect would no longer be in doubt. Tianshang, who was half a body's length behind Tianqing Laozu, cupped his hands towards Lu Ping and said expressionlessly, Junior brother, you're always one step ahead. Now that you're about to undergo the second lightning tribulation, I'm going to drag you down again. Lu Ping knew that Tianshang had always been serious. Although he was tall, his face was always sallow and full of worry as if he had just recovered from a serious illness. In Zhenling, he was known as the sick tiger in the North Sea cultivation world. The sick referred to Tianshang's strange appearance, while the tiger referred to Tianshang's strength. He was an extremely powerful figure among the 3rd-generation disciples of Zhenling. If it were not for the fact that Zhenling had produced geniuses such as Lu Tianping and Yin Tianchu, Tian Tian's death, and Lu Tianyuan's profound accumulation and the care of his elders, Tianshang's strength was probably one of the best among the 3rd-generation disciples of Zhenling. Lu Ping smiled and said, I'm just a step ahead. Senior brother, you'll definitely catch up in the future. As everyone exchanged greetings, Lu Ping introduced Deng Ming and Xian Hua, who were behind him, to the 3 Laozus. Upon hearing Deng Ming's identity, even though Deng Ming had already become Jiang Tianlin's disciple, Tianshang, Laozu, and the others had no choice but to politely say, Thank you for your trouble. As for Xian Hua, everyone sighed in their hearts, but they could not help but do their best to help him. In their hands, there were a few gifts from Tianlu Laozu and the others. Tianshang nodded at Lu Ping and said, In that case, I'll bring junior brother Xian Ming to the forbidden area of the sect-protecting formation in the belly of the mountain. After Tianshang left, Tianqing looked at Xian Hua, who was following behind Lu Ping, and said, You want this little fellow to follow you through the heavenly tribulation this time? Lu Ping smiled and nodded. I see that this child is quite fond of swordsmanship. Senior sister Tian Hui is not very proficient in swordsmanship either. It just so happens that I have an extremely complete set of swordsmanship divine ability in my hands, so I want to teach it to this child so that he won't have to take many detours. The forsaken Lord listened on the side, smiled and nodded. That's good. Lu Ping seemed to have thought of something at this moment. He asked Tianlu Laozu, Grand Uncle Master, are those people easy to order around? Tianlu Laozu's expression turned serious. The old man was about to ask you where I could find them, and there are so many of them. If the news is leaked, I'm afraid others will covet them again. Lu Ping's mouth moved slightly, and he briefly told Tianlu and Tiancheng about the longevity grotto heaven in the 9 mystical tower. Seeing their stunned expressions, he smiled. I'm afraid they will only stay here and not go out. They were raised by humans since they were born, so they are already wary of the outside world. We don't care about them on Failing Island, so it's like heaven. As for planting spiritual herbs and opening up spiritual gardens, it's like instinct to them. Martial uncle, you don't have to worry about personal gains and losses. Moreover, someone has placed a vicious restriction on their divine sense. Although I have a way to conceal it, I can't remove it. They will still die if they leave this place. Tiancheng Laozu shook his head. You're really bold. Look, they're here too. When Lu Ping turned to look, he saw several wand birds flying over from the horizon. The ones leading them were the 2 mid-Dharma adepts, Wan Xiao and Wan Qing. The rest of them were at different levels of core forging and blood condensation. There were even a few little wand birds that seemed to have just hatched and learned how to fly. They were flapping their wings vigorously behind them. Among them were the few that Lu Ping had previously hatched under Lu Qiner's orders. Luan Xiao swooped down from the sky and transformed into his human form. When he saw Lu Ping, he shouted, Lu Tianping, your Jinling is really ambitious. Chapter 1371. Jinling had accumulated over the years, especially in the last 200 to 300 years, and had formed at least 4 large spirit veins on Tianling Mountain. However, just the spirit veins on Feiling Mountain alone were equivalent to 7 large spirit veins, and this was the result of Lu Ping's temporary absorption of the Linglong Cauldron. In reality, although a small part of Feiling Mountain's peak had been shaved off, causing the large spirit veins on Feiling Island to be heavily damaged, it was not impossible to gather another 1 or 2 large spirit veins if the entire Feiling Mountain was harvested. Lu Ping had come to Feiling Island this time not only to bring Deng Xianming to participate in an important matter of Jinling that would affect the legacy of Jinling for generations to come, but more importantly, it was to make the final preparations to survive the second Thunder Trial and become a great adept of the late Dharma stage. Originally, Lu Ping did not need to be so cautious, but something that had suddenly happened at this critical juncture had forced Lu Ping to delay the time of his Thunder Trial. As one of Lu Ping's natal spirit treasures, the Sword of the Real Spirit Emoli requested to face the second Thunder Trial at the same time as Lu Ping. During the first Thunder Trial, the power of the Sword of the Real Spirit Emoli had combined with the power of the Sword of the Real Spirit had caused Lu Ping to have a lingering fear. Originally, Lu Ping had not been too concerned about the second Thunder Trial, but Emoli's repeated requests had caused Lu Ping's heart to leap to his throat. Therefore, during this period of time, Lu Ping had been training in seclusion on Failing Island. One reason was to continue to train the inner Yuan in his body, and at the same time, to quickly refine the medicinal power of the White Lotus body storage elixir that had accumulated in his body for his own use. He wanted to increase the strength of his body and strengthen his foundation in preparation for the arrival of the second Thunder Trial. Secondly, he wanted to borrow the power of the Thunder Tribulation to complete something that he had been planning for a long time. This was also the reason why he insisted on bringing Deng Xianming, a formation grandmaster, along with him to participate in this major event. What? You're going to summon the second Thunder Tribulation on Failing Island, and you're going to summon it together with a spirit treasure? The white-haired and amiable Fornax Laozu had only heard half of what Lu Ping had said, but his hair and beard were already standing on end. Do you know what you are talking about? Others are trying their best to weaken the strength of their own Thunder Tribulations. But you, not only do you think that your Thunder Tribulations are not strong enough, you even want to receive the Thunder Tribulations of the spirit treasures in your hands. This is not a simple addition. The power of the 2 Thunder Tribulations is no less than the 3rd Pure Young Thunder Tribulations. Lu Ping was still grinning. I know. To be honest, when I went through my first Thunder Tribulation, I summoned the Thunder Tribulation together with this spirit treasure. Although it was my first Thunder Tribulation, the power of the Thunder Tribulation was no less than the second Thunder Tribulation of an ordinary cultivator. Didn't I get through it? Fornax Laozu said seriously, this is not a child's play. You succeeded the last time, but it doesn't mean that you will succeed this time. Besides, Going through the thunder tribulation together with a spirit treasure should be a secret technique of the central planes passed down from ancient times. You've already used this secret technique last time. Are you going to change your spirit treasure again this time? Lu Ping also said, it's not a change. It's still the same spirit treasure from last time. It's just that this time it concerns whether I can master a supreme secret technique quickly, so I have to take the risk again. Seeing that Lu Ping had made up his mind, Fornax Laozu had no choice but to say, why do you want to summon the thunder tribulation on Failing Island? You should know that Failing Island is tens of thousands of feet under the sea. Although it doesn't affect the summoning of the thunder tribulation, it may cause changes to the various prohibitions on Failing Island. Moreover, the gathering of thunderclouds is very eye-catching. After all, this is the second thunder tribulation. The movement caused by it may shake the entire North Sea cultivation world. If the secret of our sect being able to enter and leave Failing Island is exposed, it will inevitably bring disaster to our sect's various plans. Of course, I know that. Lu Ping explained unhurriedly. In fact, I'm doing this on purpose. During this period of time, junior brother Deng Xianming must have made preparations. The restrictive formation on Failing Island was set up by the three great divines of Failing sect. Back then, it could sink such a huge island into the sea. Needless to say, its power is tyrannical and magical. Now, if we want to restore it, we can only use a huge external force to shorten the time. This time, the thunder tribulation is an excellent opportunity. Otherwise, with our accumulation over time, I'm afraid that Failing Island won't be able to rise to the surface of the sea for at least 800 years. Moreover, the sea area of Failing Island has rarely been visited for thousands of years. Even though I've summoned the thunder tribulation this time and attracted the attention of the various sects in the North Sea, who would have thought that our sect has already entered Failing Island? Who would have thought that our sect is actually planning to reappear the entire Failing Island in the North Sea? Anyway, there won't be too many people coming and going from Failing Island for the next few years. If the various sects in the North Sea can't find the person undergoing the thunder tribulation, why would they wait here for a long time? Even though Lu Ping had convinced Fornax Laozu, the thunder tribulation this time was not a trivial matter. Lu Ping still found a place far away from the edge of Fei Ling Mountain as a place to undergo the thunder tribulation. After several months of hard work, Deng Xianming had finally unlocked a small part of the restrictive formation in the belly of Fei Ling Mountain. He used this as an opportunity to set up a huge formation, intending to use the power of the thunder tribulation that dispersed during Lu Ping's thunder tribulation to pry open the restrictive formation on the entire Failing Island. During the time that Lu Ping was preparing for his second thunder tribulation, Xianhua had completely become Lu Ping's right-hand man. Aside from cultivating under Lu Ping's guidance, Xianhua had personally witnessed the various preparations that Lu Ping had made for the thunder tribulation, which was greatly beneficial to Xianhua's future growth. Before he followed Lu Ping to the place where the thunder tribulation would take place, Lu Ping handed the House of Gold to him and instructed, 9 out of 10 chances of surviving a thunder tribulation has always been fatal. This item contains more than half of my life's work. You can just hand it over to the sect master. Xianhua took the House of Gold and said, Uncle Master's reputation is illustrious, so it's naturally not a problem for you to become a great cultivator. I'll keep this item for the time being. Once Uncle Master successfully advances, I'll naturally return it. Lu Ping smiled and handed over 2 storage artifacts to him. He said, just give these 2 rings to Taoist Master Mystic Fox of Huangli Island in the future. She will naturally know what to do. Xianhua silently took the 2 storage artifacts, only to see Lu Ping toss another storage ring into his hands. He said, this is your reward. Senior brother Tian Tian passed away at a young age. Although he died at the hands of Mara, it has a lot to do with Xian sect and Songhai sect. There's a set of wood elemental sword techniques that are extremely suitable for you to cultivate. There's also a portion of cultivation resources and a wood elemental high-grade earth elemental spirit item. You should cultivate diligently and not be impatient. In the future, you might be able to achieve even greater things than your father. Lu Ping paused for a moment before saying, you should take care of yourself. Uncle Master, the heavens help the worthy. Xianhua gripped the storage ring in his hands tightly and bowed to Lu Ping. When he raised his head, he saw that Lu Ping was already hundreds of feet away. And at this moment, a strong and powerful pressure swept through the void. Naturally, it was not Dao Shenglaozu. Could it be that someone from outside the North Sea had come to the North Sea to undergo the lightning tribulation? This did not seem impossible. In the past 100 or 200 years, the North Sea cultivation world seemed to have attracted more and more attention from other cultivation worlds, and the number of adepts coming and going from the North Sea cultivation world had also increased. The lightning tribulation clouds gathered on the surface of the sea, and the rumbling thunder directly shocked the minds of the adepts. The area within a radius of 100 miles was completely covered by the lightning tribulation clouds, and within this area, not a single Dharma adept dared to enter. Core forging adepts could enter the area covered by the lightning tribulation, but they could at most go 30 to 50 miles in, because the huge pressure of heaven and earth made it impossible for them to withstand this kind of pressure. Chapter 1372. Who triggered the pure young lightning tribulation? Under the tyrannical pressure of the world, no one was able to enter the range of the heavenly tribulation. Naturally, no one knew that there was actually no one at the place where the heavenly tribulation lightning landed. The tribulation lightning fell towards the sea, but in reality, it pierced through the void and landed on the edge of Fei Ling Island that was tens of thousands of feet under the sea. The sword of true spirit, Emoli, hung above Lu Ping's head. This time, Emoli did not hide behind Lu Ping like when he summoned the first heavenly tribulation lightning. Almost all of the heavenly tribulation lightning was blocked by Lu Ping alone. According to Emoli, the reason why I could take the initiative to help Lu Ping share the power of the heavenly tribulation lightning was mainly because it came from the water ape artifact spirit of the Qinkuan wine cauldron. This greatly improved the quality of the sword of true spirit. And what Lu Ping had said to Tianlu Laozu about the reason for cultivating a supreme sword art was not a lie. Among the 20 pieces of chiming divine stones that Lu Ping had obtained in the Dao altar world, there were a few that recorded Jiao Dorn's mantras. Lu Ping seriously pondered the meaning of these mantras, especially after refining the broken stone of the Dao altar foundation. He had obtained the will of Jiao Daoren that could directly nurture the dragon-shaped relief. This allowed Lu Ping to have a further understanding of the heaven-opening swordsmanship that he controlled. The heaven-opening swordsmanship had 3 sword techniques: the battle formula, the kill formula, and the death formula. These 3 sword techniques came from the same origin. Only by cultivating the battle formula to a certain degree could one touch the edge of the kill formula. Only by cultivating the kill formula to a certain degree could one touch the edge of the death formula. Lu Ping could use the sword of true spirit to derive the battle formula to create 3 flood dragons. After spending a year in the Dao altar world, he was able to fuse the 3 flood dragons into one to form the kill formula. However, if Lu Ping wanted his heaven-opening swordsmanship to further touch the edge of the death formula, he would have to undergo the second heavenly tribulation lightning. More specifically, he would have to use the sword of true spirit to undergo the second heavenly tribulation lightning and become a second tribulation spirit treasure. Only then would he be able to successfully derive the death formula. Bolt after bolt of heavenly tribulation lightning fell, its power growing stronger and stronger. This caused the cultivators who were observing from hundreds of miles away to turn pale. They were even more certain that this heavenly tribulation was a pure young heavenly tribulation. However, the cultivators of the North Sea were all confused as to which Almighty Master was undergoing the heavenly tribulation again. Because this news was so shocking, the various sects had to use spies or connections they had left in other sects to investigate each other. The most likely suspects were Xianling's sects, Dao Shenglaozu, and Jinling Tianxiang Laozu. Both of them had already appeared in their respective sects and clearly requested their disciples to invite this Almighty Master to their sects once they successfully passed the heavenly tribulation. Even if they couldn't, they had to express their goodwill. In that case, Jinling Jiang Tianlin could also be ruled out. More and more cultivators began to believe that the person undergoing the heavenly tribulation in Fei Ling Island must be a almighty master from outside the North Sea. It was not that no one had connected this heavenly tribulation with Fei Ling Island, which had sunk tens of thousands of feet deep into the sea. However, this only made them more certain that the person undergoing the heavenly tribulation must be from outside the North Sea. There was no reason for this. Which North Sea cultivator would choose to undergo the heavenly tribulation in Fei Ling Island? This was an eye-catching place, and only outsiders would choose this place without any scruples. 9 bolts of heavenly tribulation lightning fell in a row. Apart from the cultivators who were observing from hundreds of miles away, their faces turned ashen from the power of the heavenly tribulation. When the thunderclouds dispersed, there was nothing left on the sea. Was the tribulation a success or a failure? No one knew, but one thing they understood was that even if the Almighty Master had succeeded in his heavenly tribulation, he was pure young Laozu. If he did not want others to see him, no one would be able to find him. Naturally, the various sects would not take such a major event lightly. Although they did not find anything, the cultivators of the various sects still left many scouts in the open and in the dark, hoping to see the almighty pure young cultivator. However, an entire year had passed, and the sea was still calm. There were no other unusual occurrences. Even if the pure young cultivator needed to stabilize his cultivation after the heavenly tribulation, such a long period of time was enough for him to recover. It seemed that the almighty pure young cultivator had really left. At this time, some people once again thought of Fei Ling Island. Could it be that the almighty master had originally come for Fei Ling Island? Although Fei Ling Island was tens of thousands of feet deep in the sea, it was not easy for a late Dharma adept to dive tens of thousands of feet deep. Even if one used various methods to reach the periphery of Fei Ling Island, there was nothing they could do against the forbidden formation that protected the entire island. When Fei Ling Island sank, there were people who had set their sights on Fei Ling Island, but in the end, all of them returned in failure. It was even rumored that the pure young cultivator from the Crystal Palace had secretly dived tens of thousands of feet deep into the sea in an attempt to break through the forbidden formation and enter Fei Ling Island, but in the end, he did not succeed. There were also cultivators who dived thousands of feet deep into the sea to check on the teleportation formation on the cliff at the bottom of the sea. The teleportation formation was still not activated. Later, there were even people who saw Xianling sect's Daoshang, Laozu, personally diving into the sea to check. Although the results were unknown, after that, the Xianling sect's cultivators who had stayed near this area of the sea had all retreated. Another year had passed, and the North Sea was still calm. It was said that another Dharma adept had appeared among the third generation of Zhenling's disciples, causing the various sects in the North Sea to lament that the rise of Zhenling was becoming increasingly difficult to stop. It was not that the other sects in the North Sea did not have any third-generation disciples who had advanced to the Dharma stage. Even the first direct disciple of the Xianling sect, Ouyang Weijian, who had been traveling in the East Sea, had successfully passed his first lightning tribulation after returning to the North Sea and had advanced to the mid-Dharma stage. However, compared to the speed at which the third generation of Zhenling's disciples had advanced, it was still a far cry. Even in the training of the fourth-generation disciples, Zhenling was far ahead of the various sects in the North Sea. Today, it was said that nearly 10 fourth-generation disciples of Zhenling had advanced to the late core forging stage. As for the other sects in the North Sea, it was said that only the fourth-generation disciples of Xianling, Songhai, Shuiyin, and Haiyin had advanced to the late core forging stage. The fourth-generation disciples of the other sects were still lingering around the mid-core forging stage. Although Zhenling did not sail across the stormy ocean with great fanfare like the various sects in the North Sea had imagined, it also did not have conflicts with the various sects in the North Sea because of its wanton expansion of power in the North Sea. However, Zhenling used the name of the trial voyage of the treasure ship to travel around the North Sea, which was a huge deterrent to the various sects in the North Sea. Many of the sea areas, islands, and even some neutral areas that Zhenling had disputes with the various sects previously chose to give way to Zhenling as the treasure ship passed by. Zhenling's sphere of influence had quietly expanded. At the same time, the expansion of its sphere of influence had also increased Zhenling's control over the cultivation resources of the North Sea. Seeing that Black Fox was not in a good mood, as if she had something that she could not say, Lu Ping smiled and asked, "Is there something on your mind?" A bright red flash across Black Fox's face, as if she was extremely embarrassed. However, under Lu Ping's gaze, she still spoke with 30% resentment and 70% coquettishly. "Zhongjian and Ma, you already have 2 children, a boy and a girl. Their eldest daughter has already reached the core forging stage, and junior sister Xianling is also pregnant with senior brother Tianyong's child." Chapter 1373. Lu Ping laughed out loud, and the Black Fox's face was already red. She scolded jokingly, "You're still laughing? Master and the sect master asked us why we don't have children a few days ago. Aya, you're still laughing. You've been running around all these years, and we've been separated more than we've been together. It's not easy for us to return to the North Sea this time. If we wait until the next time, I don't know where you'll go and how long you'll be gone." The longer the Black Fox and Lu Ping were together, the more gentle she became. This time, she spoke urgently and even had a hint of anger. Lu Ping didn't dare to tease her anymore. He hugged the Black Fox and said gently, "We still have to wait." "Why?" The Black Fox was very dissatisfied, but she gave him room to explain. Lu Ping's expression became serious, and he said, "For the bloodline inheritance." "Bloodline inheritance?" The Black Fox was very confused and said, "You and I are not Dao companions of the Demon Clan. What's the use of bloodline inheritance? Even for the Demon Clan cultivators, only those top Demon Clan members who are direct descendants of the 7th Patriarch will have bloodline inheritance." Lu Ping smiled and said, "I'm different." Seeing the strange expression on the Black Fox's face, Lu Ping hurriedly said, Don't misunderstand. I'm not a Demon Clan cultivator, nor am I a mixed blood descendant of the Human Clan and Demon Clan. It's because my bloodline, cultivation method, and divine sense are different from ordinary cultivators. These things are my greatest secrets, and at the same time, they're the foundation of my current achievements. I hope that these things can be passed on to my descendants through my bloodline in the future. In the future, their path of cultivation will be much smoother. The Black Fox naturally knew what kind of legend the man beside her was in the cultivation world. She could also guess that he must have secrets that others didn't know about, but she didn't expect that these secrets would actually be in his bloodline. Naturally, Lu Ping wouldn't tell her everything. That was because some of the things that happened to him had indeed reached an unimaginable and unbelievable level. Once he said it, it would be difficult to explain, and the misunderstanding would deepen. It was better to give a general reason to convince people. Then, how long do we have to wait? The Black Fox naturally believed in her man, but she was still a little uneasy. Lu Ping smiled and said, "When you condense your Dharma form, wait for me to advance to Pure Yang." Pure Yang. The Black Fox was a little surprised, and she was a little uncertain. "What? You don't believe I can overcome my 3rd lightning tribulation?" Lu Ping asked with a smile. "Don't talk nonsense." The Black Fox was furious. What would happen if he couldn't pass the 3rd thunder tribulation? Wasn't she cursing her man to die? However, that was a pure young cultivator. No matter how much confidence the Black Fox had in Lu Ping, it would be a lie to say that she didn't have any doubts about such an unreachable existence in the cultivation world. Lu Tianping whispered into the Black Fox's ear, "Don't worry. If it wasn't for the fact that I'm not confident, I, Lu Tianping, wouldn't take the risk of having no descendants." His warm breath lingered in the Black Fox's ear. The manly scent on Lu Ping's body was like surging waves that drowned her. Once again, the two of them rolled together. For a period of time after that, Lu Ping stayed on Huangli Island. He took turns to test the cultivation skills of the few disciples in the school. When he had free time, he would talk about Dharma and Tao. He was quite relaxed. One day, a talisman flew over from the sky. Lu Ping reached out and grabbed it. After bidding farewell to the Black Fox, he turned into a ray of light and left Huangli Island. At the same time, on Scarlet Fog Island in the western part of the North Sea, Zhang Tianlin, who was guarding the island, frowned. He stretched out his hand and opened up a void in front of him. He was already dozens of miles away from Scarlet Fog Island. A ray of light came from afar and landed directly in the sea a few feet away from Jiang Tianlin. A Dharma adept covered in blood struggled for a moment before fainting in the sea. Jiang Tianlin went forward and looked at the person for a moment. Then, he exclaimed, "Why is it this kid? Senior Long Huai, sorry for making you wait." The ray of light landed outside Huanyu Island in the middle of the North Sea. Lu Ping apologized to the Longhuai ancestor, who had been waiting for a long time. The Longhuai ancestor glanced at Lu Ping and said, "However, it seems that your strength has increased significantly again." Lu Ping smiled and said, "Senior, you're here for the musket god stone this time, right?" The Longhuai ancestor nodded woodenly and said, "With your strength and the special technique that you practice, you should be able to bring out a few pieces of broken stone." Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat. He asked, "Senior, do you know the origin of the technique that I practice? This technique is extensive and profound. What you can practice is only a part of the complete technique." Lu Ping hurriedly asked, "Senior, do you know how to find the complete technique?" The Longhuai ancestor shook his head and said, "I don't." Lu Ping was dispirited, and he passed the 2 pieces of broken stone that contained Zhao Doran's will to the Longhuai ancestor and said, "I originally had a few more pieces of broken stone, but the sect I'm in needs quite a few as well. So, I was only able to leave 2 pieces for Senior." The Longhuai ancestor weighed the 2 pieces of broken stone in his hand, while an indescribable glow flashed in his eyes, and then he said, "It's fine." Lu Ping pondered for a moment before he probed, "May I ask why Senior wants these pieces of broken stone?" "For the sake of bringing them out of the world of the Tao platform, I had no choice but to eliminate the will of Zhao Daoran contained within them." The Longhuai ancestor's face remained expressionless, but Lu Ping could read a faint smile in his eyes, which made Lu Ping feel a little awkward. "Eliminate? How can the will of the 7th Patriarch of Sky Splitter be so easily eliminated by you?" Lu Ping was surprised. He saw the Longhuai ancestor forming a few hand seals and muttering a few incantations. Suddenly, 2 words that left Lu Ping dumbfounded came from the 2 pieces of broken stone. The 2 words were very familiar to Lu Ping. It was the will of Zhao Daoran that Lu Ping had heard in the Tao platform. At the moment when the 2 words were heard, the Longhuai ancestor hung motionless in the air as if he had been hit by a spell. It was as if he had fainted from the shock of the 2 words. Lu Ping guessed that the 2 incantations might have directly affected the main body of the Longhuai ancestor in the secret graveyard, so he tried to suppress the rolling thoughts in his heart and waited quietly for the Longhuai ancestor. After a long time, the avatar in front of him finally recovered. He cracked his neck and smiled at Lu Ping again. He threw the 2 pieces of broken stone in his hand to Lu Ping and said, "These things are useless to the old man, so I'll return them to you." When he saw Lu Ping's surprised and bewildered expression, Ancestor Long Huai revealed a trace of a smile with great difficulty and said, "You don't understand?" Lu Ping said honestly, "I don't understand. Actually, it's nothing. It's just to awaken a suppressed memory." For some reason, Lu Ping felt a sense of vicissitudes from the words of the Longhuai ancestor. He saw the 9-dragon bell ringing on its own above the floating sea, playing happily with the dragon-shaped Dharma form. Lu Ping's face darkened, and he said, "What a good dragon. Tell me, why did you deliberately use all the chiming stones that recorded Zhao Doran's mantra on this 9-dragon bell? What is your intention?" The 9-dragon bell flew back into Lu Ping's palm, and the dragon-shaped Dharma form was very displeased. It almost chased out of the floating sea, but Lu Ping waved his hand, and the dragon-shaped Dharma form sank back into the triple light holy water. "What do you mean? Didn't I tell you before? I feel that this will help me display my strength. In fact, the power of this 9-dragon bell is indeed the strongest among the 9 dragon bells." "That's the reason? What other reason could there be? For example, the thought of the 7th Patriarch in the stones has not been completely erased? So you're suspecting it too." "I've had this feeling for a long time, but I really couldn't detect it. Therefore, I could only try my best to gather as many stones as possible from Jiao Doran's mantra on this 9-dragon bell. Lu Ping blinked his eyes and said, "So you're saying that you're not sure yourself?" The dragon-shaped Dharma form's tone was slightly doubtful, and it said, "What do you mean? Do these chiming stones that you brought out from the Tao altar really contain the thought of the 7th patriarch?" Lu Ping smiled slightly, and he chanted a few incantations. His hands then formed a few seals with the help of the rich vital qi in the core space. The 9-dragon bell suddenly buzzed amidst the dragon-shaped Dharma form's exclamation. Then, a few different divine thoughts suddenly erupted, and several Jiao Doran's mantras erupted at the same time, as if there were several Jiao Doran arguing at the same time. The dragon-shaped Dharma form's tone was as if it had seen a ghost, and it said, "There really is a hidden thought. I said that my intuition is right, but what method did you use? If this secret technique is in your hands, doesn't it mean that Jinling can hear the teachings of the 7th patriarch's mantra at any time?" Lu Ping shook his head and said, "How can it be so easy? This secret technique only works on the stones that contain Jiao Doran's mantra. It is completely useless on the other stones left by Lao Tzu." Lu Ping returned to Huangli Island, and as soon as the light dissipated, Lu Ping was stunned. He saw his disciple, Jinling's alchemy master Taoist Xian Yu, rushing towards Lu Ping again. Obviously, he had been waiting for a long time. "Master, what's wrong? What happened?" There was a trace of panic on Xian Yu's face, and he said, "Disciple was originally on Scarlet Mist Island, but Jiang Tianlin Laozu ordered Master to go there as soon as possible. Grandmaster Tian Qin has already rushed there, and Grandmaster Taoist ordered Disciple to find Master." Chapter 1375. Scarlet Mist Island was huge, and there were active volcanoes everywhere on the island. The flying volcanic dust dyed the entire island a hazy fiery red. Ever since Scarlet Mist Island had emerged from the western part of the North Sea, this island full of volcanoes had become an adventurous paradise for the North Sea cultivators. The island was like a huge treasure vault, containing many fire elemental or fire-related treasures. Although there were various hidden dangers, it still could not stop the endless stream of North Sea cultivators from entering. Jinling had the upper hand before Scarlet Mist Island had emerged. Not only had he obtained the largest number of heavenly spirit fires of the highest quality, but he had also occupied nearly 1/3 of the coastline of Scarlet Mist Island in one fell swoop, and he had tried his best to expand into the depths of the island. Over the years, with the constant pressure from the various sects of the North Sea, Jinling's space on Scarlet Mist Island had been constantly compressed. Currently, only a quarter of the coastline was left. This was because Jiang Tianlin had suddenly advanced to the late Dharma stage, followed by Lu Tianping making a name for himself in the Central Plains, and the subsequent trials of the treasure ship, which had caused all the forces of the North Sea to be very wary. Thus, the North Sea cultivators had no choice but to stop their concerted efforts to suppress Jinling. The deeper one went into Scarlet Mist Island, the more dangerous it became. Until now, the sects of the North Sea had only expanded the safety of the deeper parts of Scarlet Mist Island by about 100 miles. The deeper they went, the more dangerous it became. Even Dharma adepts had to be very careful. As such, the North Sea cultivators still had no idea what the entire Scarlet Mist Island looked like. However, everyone knew that the training resources in the deeper parts of Scarlet Mist Island were more abundant than those in the outer parts of Scarlet Mist Island. There were often all kinds of heavenly spirit fires appearing in the depths of Scarlet Mist Island, and volcanic eruptions would often bring out all kinds of rare fire elemental spirit materials. There were even people who had discovered several fire veins in the depths of Scarlet Mist Island. Unlike the water vein, which was suitable for most cultivators to use for cultivation, it could be used as a spirit vein. Although the fire vein was only beneficial to cultivators who practiced fire attribute cultivation techniques, it could also be used to guide and evolve various types of flames. Whether it was alchemy or artifact forging, it was an indispensable thing. Back then, the Scarlet Mist Island had risen from the bottom of the sea directly because Jinling had discovered a fire vein and guided it to Tianling Mountain. After that, Jinling's efficiency in repairing treasured ships had greatly increased, and the equipment refining pavilion had also relied on the support of this fire vein. Although the various sects of the North Sea occupied Scarlet Fog Island on the outskirts, they were unable to stop the Dharma adepts from entering and exiting their territory at will and exploring the depths of Scarlet Fog Island. Although the majority of these adventuring adepts were North Sea adepts, there were also a considerable number of adepts from outside the North Sea. Among these adepts from outside the North Sea, the largest group was the Fire Phoenix clan of the East Sea. The Fire Phoenix clan had always liked places where flames gathered, and volcanoes were their favorite places to stay. In fact, the Fire Phoenix clan's current habitat was a huge cluster of volcanoes. After the Scarlet Mist Island had risen from the sea, a large number of Fire Phoenix adepts had entered the depths of Scarlet Mist Island to investigate. The various sects of the North Sea, who were familiar with the habits of the Fire Phoenix clan, had been nervous for a period of time. After all, the Fire Phoenix clan was very powerful, and the various sects of the North Sea had privately agreed that if the Fire Phoenix clan invaded, the various sects would join forces to fight against the enemy. However, although the Fire Phoenix clan had never stopped investigating the depths of Scarlet Mist Island all these years, they had never shown any covetous intentions towards Scarlet Mist Island. The various sects of the North Sea had slowly relaxed, thinking that this was the North Sea after all. It was an expedition far away from the East Sea, and even the powerful Fire Phoenix clan had to be cautious. It's not that the Fire Phoenix clan doesn't care about Scarlet Mist Island. In fact, the Fire Phoenix clan has been coveting Scarlet Mist Island for a long time. They have been waiting for the Fire Phoenix clan's patriarch, Yin Zhuoxiao, to undergo his third pure yang lightning tribulation and become a pure yang cultivator. Luanyu, who had been awakened by a drop of Wonder Jade activated by Lu Ping's spirit explosion technique, introduced the situation of the Fire Phoenix clan to Lu Ping, Tianqin Laozu, and Jiang Tianlin. At the same time, he explained to them why the Fire Phoenix clan had chosen to invade Scarlet Mist Island at this time. As soon as Luanyu finished speaking, Jiang Tianlin seemed to have sensed something. He stretched out his hand and tore through the air. A jade scroll appeared in his hand, and he scanned it with his divine will. His brows furrowed slightly as he said, "Senior brother Tianfeng has sent news from the East Sea. The Fire Phoenix clan leader has become a pure yang cultivator, and the Fire Phoenix clan has been making frequent movements." There have been many speculations in the East Sea cultivation world about this, and the Fire Phoenix clan has been keeping this a secret. It looks like what Brother Luan said is true. The Fire Phoenix clan is most likely here for Scarlet Mist Island. Lu Ping asked in confusion. The Fire Phoenix clan's invasion will definitely make the various sects of the North Sea their enemy. Our sect is currently testing our treasured ship, and when the time comes, we will have a great practitioner in command, and we will be able to fight against a pure yang cultivator. The Fire Phoenix clan should know this. So where did they get the courage to join forces with the various sects of the North Sea? Luanyu smiled bitterly. The Fire Phoenix clan does not only have one pure yang cultivator. There is also a pure yang cultivator who is even older than Yin Zhuoxiao, Laozu. Lu Ping and the other two Jinling Dharma adepts looked at each other, and they could all see the sudden realization and worry in each other's eyes. Lu Ping saw that Luanyu seemed to have some hesitation in his eyes, so he smiled and asked, "Brother Luan, do you have anything else to say?" Luanyu was not embarrassed that Lu Ping had seen through his thoughts. Instead, with a serious expression, he asked Jiang Tianlin Laozu, "Please forgive me for being direct, but I know that your sect has the largest area of influence on Scarlet Mist Island, and I believe that you must have a deep understanding of the volcanic region in the depths of Scarlet Mist Island. I wonder if Senior has discovered anything unexpected in the depths of Scarlet Mist Island?" Jiang Tianlin's expression froze, as if he had thought of something, and he asked, "Friend Luan, do you mean that the Fire Phoenix clan is attacking Scarlet Mist Island on a large scale because of something hidden on Scarlet Mist Island?" Luanyu nodded and said, "That is correct. The reason I was able to escape from the Fire Phoenix clan this time was because of Senior Yin Wuzhou's rescue. Senior Wuzhou once told me that a Fire Phoenix clan practitioner had discovered some extremely important treasures in the depths of Scarlet Mist Island, and these treasures seem to be extremely important to the Fire Phoenix clan. Otherwise, the Fire Phoenix clan would not have decided to invade Scarlet Mist Island, even though they knew that your sect was testing the waters. Furthermore, although I was able to escape from the Fire Phoenix clan this time, it is very likely that the Fire Phoenix clan will be on their guard. Perhaps the Fire Phoenix clan will make an early move. Zhang Tianlin cupped his hands towards Luan Yu and said, "Thank you, friend, for taking the risk to inform me. You are seriously injured and need to rest. If you have any requests, feel free to ask Tianping. Our sect will definitely do our best. The matter you speak of is of great importance, so the old man will take his leave first." This time, Brother Tian Cheng has successfully advanced to the mid-Dharma stage, and his natural mystical power, the Inferno Sky-Burning Formation, may be able to bring back more information from the central area. Ancestor Zhang Tianlin said, "No matter what the Fire Phoenix clan's true goal is, there is one thing that is beyond doubt. The Fire Phoenix clan has been planning this for a long time, and they didn't hesitate to wait for Yin Jiuxiao to become a pure yang cultivator for several years. Although this is a well-planned and appropriate plan, it also means that the Fire Phoenix clan doesn't have absolute confidence in winning. At the very least, they don't have the confidence to win in a short period of time. If the Fire Phoenix clan has really come for a treasure that might exist on Scarlet Mist Island, then we have enough time to deal with everything that comes next." At this time, Tian Feng also said, "We don't have enough manpower." Although the treasured ship was completely comparable to a pure yang practitioner on the sea, and in terms of power and endurance, the treasured ship was far superior to a pure yang practitioner, but it was important to note that a pure yang practitioner was much more agile than a treasured ship. The Fire Phoenix clan's pure yang practitioners would not be so foolish as to go head-on with the Jinling's treasured ship. Moreover, the treasured ship had such power, apart from the quality of the ship itself, it also needed a grand practitioner and hundreds of middle and low-level practitioners who could command it with ease. Moreover, once the Fire Phoenix clan invaded Scarlet Mist Island, they would definitely be prepared for the worst. Apart from the pure yang practitioners, the number of grand practitioners they had would not be less than the total number of grand practitioners the North Sea humans currently had. In addition, there were also a large number of other Dharma adepts. The Fire Phoenix clan was a large demon clan in the East Sea, second only to the Green Sea Snakes, so their power was not to be underestimated. Although the number of Dharma adepts in Jinling had increased like a geyser in the past few years, compared to a large demon clan like the Fire Phoenix clan, they were still far behind. Apart from Tianling Mountain, which served as their headquarters, there were still many other important places in Jinling that required Dharma adepts to guard. As such, the number of people that could be transferred to Scarlet Mist Island was also limited. "There's no need for so many people." Lu Ping's voice suddenly had a hint of coldness in it. Who knows, when the time comes, the Fire Phoenix clan might retreat. There was a commotion outside the secret chamber, and Tianqing Laozu's voice could be heard from afar. This time, the old man is most likely in trouble. "Where is senior brother Jiang? Quick, bring me to him." Chapter 1377. Tian Cheng Laozu rushed into the secret room, only to see that everyone was looking at him. This surprised Tian Cheng Laozu, and he said, "Why are there so many people here?" Zhang Tianlin smiled and said, "What's wrong? Did Brother Tian Cheng discover something in the central area of Scarlet Mist Island? Or did you snatch something good from the hands of the other sects?" Tian Cheng Laozu touched the back of his head and laughed, as if Zhang Tianlin had hit the nail on the head. However, his expression immediately turned serious and he said, "This time, I'm afraid it's not a small matter. I met the people of the Fire Phoenix clan in the central area, and I snatched this from them." Tian Cheng Laozu opened his palm, and a 3-foot purple feather with golden edges appeared in his palm. From a distance, it seemed that there was a dense qi flowing in the feather, and the spiritual qi around the feather seemed to be affected as well. When it passed by the feather, the flow of the spiritual qi seemed to have been distorted. Lu Ping used his divine will to sense it, but he was surprised to find that the space within a 3-foot radius of the feather seemed to be distorted. Even though Lu Ping's divine will was strong, he was still unable to touch the feather with his divine will. Obviously, at this moment, not only Lu Ping, but the other Dharma adepts also realized that this feather was extraordinary. Just like Zhang Tianlin and Mei Tianqin, they had other feelings in addition to the others' discoveries. Both of them could see the surprise in each other's eyes. Zhang Tianlin was the first to ask, "Brother, do you know what this feather is, and how did you get it?" "Luan Yu," Tianqing Laozu said matter-of-factly, "but it looks like the quality is very high. Disciple Tianlian seems to value this feather very much. If it wasn't for the fact that he was envious of this kid, the old man might not have tried to steal it. At first, it was a practitioner of the Fire Phoenix clan who first discovered it. Fortunately, this person was only an early Dharma adept. When the old man found this feather interesting, he snatched it from him. However, the practitioner of the Fire Phoenix clan was quite impressive, and he was able to call for companions in time. When the old man met him, he would soon find out the identity of the old man and come looking for him. The Fire Phoenix clan is not to be underestimated. It seems that this time the old man has caused a lot of trouble." As Tianqing Laozu spoke, Chunlian had already followed him into the secret room. After bowing to Jiang Tianlin and the others, he smiled and nodded to Lu Ping as a greeting. Jiang Tianlin was silent for a moment, then turned to Chunlian and asked, "Disciple Tianlian, you are one of the top craftsmen in our sect. In your opinion, what is so special about this feather?" Chunlian hesitated, as if he was not confident. Although he was also a Dharma adept, he had just advanced, and he had always considered his status and way of thinking as a core forging adept. However, seeing that everyone was asking, Chunlian could only bite the bullet and say, "In my opinion, this feather is something that can only be found by chance. It is a rare spiritual material in the world, and at least it is enough to make a replica of the 7-feather fan." The 7-feather fan was one of the 6 divine weapons of opening the heavens. In the world of practice, the most famous replica was the 7-feather fan in Laozu's hands. This was because Laozu had inherited the functions of the 7-feather fan through the 7-feather fans. Although this was far from the 7-feather fan, it had also made 7-feather fan famous in the world of practice. The 7-feather fan was made from the phoenix feathers of Laozu's 7-feather fans. Each feather was the feather of a demon cultivator of the phoenix bloodline who had become a pure young demon cultivator. Since Chenlian said that this feather could be used to make a replica of the 7-feather fan, then this feather should at least be left behind by a demon cultivator of the phoenix bloodline. More than that, although Tianqing Laozu's words refuted Chenlian's guess, everyone was shocked. Tianqing Laozu reacted the fastest. He said, "That means it is at least a pure young level feather." In that case, the old man was not reckless this time. Such a feather is really worth the old man to make a move. "Yes," Tianqing Laozu said grumpily, "it is indeed worth you to make a move, but it is also worth the Fire Phoenix clan to make a move." The Fire Phoenix clan, led by a pure young cultivator, is preparing to invade Scarlet Mist Island. We are gathered in this secret room to discuss this matter. Ancestor Tianqing let out a strange cry and said, "No way. It's too fast. It was only a few hours ago that I sneak-attacked the cultivator of the Fire Phoenix tribe." Lu Ping hurriedly explained to Tianqing Laozu and Chenlian what had happened. The two gradually frowned, obviously realizing the seriousness of the matter. Zhang Tianlin took the feather in Tianqing Laozu's hand and carefully examined it. In the end, he shook his head and asked Tianqing Laozu, "How did this feather appear? Did someone lose it, or was it originally on Scarlet Mist Island?" Tianqing Laozu and Chunlian were stunned. Obviously, they also realized the difference. Tianqing Laozu was obviously not sad about this matter. He looked at Chunlian, who was next to him. There was no doubt that the conclusion of a tool refining grandmaster was more authoritative. Chunlian thought for a moment and finally said, "The possibility of it being lost is very small. It's more likely that it was originally on Scarlet Mist Island. When I obtained this feather, I could sense the rich aura of volcanic magma from it." Clearly, This feather was brought out during the eruption of the volcano. Tiancheng Laozu said excitedly. Could it be that the Fire Phoenix clan really came for this feather? Could it be that Scarlet Mist Island was a habitat for the Fire Phoenix clan in ancient times? Could the volcanoes in the center of Scarlet Mist Island be the burial place of the Fire Phoenix clan? As he spoke, Tianqin Laozu also took the feather from Jiang Tianlin's hand. The Zhen Yuan in his hand surged, and the moment it entered the feather, a loud cry suddenly came from the feather. Tianqin Laozu's expression changed. He saw a scarlet Zhen Yuan continuously flowing towards the feather in Tianqin Laozu's hand. Lu Ping and the others quickly realized that something was wrong. It seemed that Tianqin Laozu could no longer control the Zhen Yuan in his body. Jiang Tianlin straightened his palm and was about to attack, but Tianqin Laozu suddenly stopped him. No, wait a bit more. Tianqin Laozu's face was pale because of the loss of Zhen Yuan. His forehead was covered in sweat, but he still gritted his teeth and persisted in pouring the Zhen Yuan into the purple gold feather in his hand. Jiang Tianlin sucked in a breath of cold air and said, "This is at least a feather left behind by an existence that had become a phoenix's true soul, and it is most likely a life feather." In fact, the moment that Tianqin Laozu could no longer control his Zhen Yuan, everyone already knew that this feather was no small matter. However, they really didn't think that this feather would have such a great origin. After Tianqin Laozu's Zhen Yuan activated the remaining thought in the feather, Lu Ping's Dharma power of dragon in the new space suddenly created a huge wave in the suspended sea, and a dragon's roar resounded through the core space. If it weren't for Lu Ping's excellent divine will, which forcibly suppressed the dragon's roar, it would have competed with the previous roar from the feather. Just as the Dharma power of dragon roared, the true soul that had just successfully escaped from the thunder tribulation with Lu Ping seemed to have noticed something, and the trembling sound of the sword also danced up and down along with the long sword. What was even more intense than the reaction between the Dharma power of dragon and the true soul was a 1-foot square handkerchief. The handkerchief was enshrouded in a wave-like light, and the colorful phoenix embroidered in the corner of the handkerchief suddenly became alive the moment the roar sounded, as if it was about to fly out of the handkerchief. Lu Ping stared at the feather in Tianqin's hand with a hint of surprise in his eyes. This feeling was too familiar to Lu Ping. This was a reaction caused by the resonance between the relics of the world. Although this feather could not be compared to the huge astronomical phenomenon that shook the world when the true soul sword appeared, at least it was much stronger than the resonance of the relics of the world when the true soul handkerchief appeared. This feather was actually left behind by the real body of Luan Daoist. Tianqin Laozu had tested it with his qi before, which obviously triggered the remaining Luan Daoist thoughts in the feather. This phoenix feather was like a pebble in the Taoist altar world at this time, and the Luan Daoist thoughts contained in it became Tianqin Laozu's gains. Jiang Tianlin also cultivated the bloodline of Luan Daoist. He had also tried to test this feather with his qi before, but he obviously missed this opportunity. Lu Ping casually threw out 3 top-grade spirit stones, and then activated them one by one with the spirit explosion technique. A rich aura instantly surrounded Tianqin Laozu. Tianqin Laozu, who had become weaker because of the loss of qi, suddenly felt refreshed, and the input of qi in his hand became much more stable. After a long time, the qi in Tianqin Laozu's hand finally stopped gushing out. The phoenix feather shone brightly, and a bright red light flowed on the surface of the feather. It was as if another flame was being bred in it, and it could erupt at any time. Although the celestial zither ancestor had not yet recovered from the great consumption of true essence, he still stood up with a giggle. He seemed to be very impatient to sweep the feather in his hand over everyone in the secret room. The aura in the secret room suddenly became chaotic. Not only that, the moment the feather swept past Tianqin Laozu and the others, almost at the same time, found that their auras began to leak out uncontrollably. If they used magic spells at this time, their power would be greatly affected. This was still the case when Tianqin Laozu had not fully displayed the power of this feather. If Tianqin Laozu's strength was fully restored, and he had a deeper understanding of this feather, the power of this feather would be greatly enhanced. Although the power of Tianqin Laozu's previous surprise attack was not great, Everyone except Jiang Tianlin and Lu Ping was affected in an instant. Jiang Tianlin barely suppressed the aura around his body, but Lu Ping was not affected by this feather at all from beginning to end. Tian Qinlaozu seemed to also notice Lu Ping's strangeness. When he looked at Lu Ping, he heard Lu Ping say with a smile, "Congratulations, Martial Uncle, on obtaining the heaven-opening relic." Chapter 1378. The Heaven-Opening Relic. Everyone stared straight at the feather in the celestial zither ancestor's hand. It was a heaven-opening relic. Didn't that mean the feather came from the Luan Daoist's true spirit body? Tian Laozu looked at the feather in Tian Laozu's hand curiously. He said, "Is this the heaven-opening relic?" Then he looked at Qinlian next to him and said, "It seems we didn't have the luck to get it. We've studied the feather for a long time, but we didn't get it as easily as apprentice sister Ting." Tian Laozu didn't pay attention to Tian Laozu's complaints. He looked at Lu Ping and asked in surprise, "Why are you so sure it's the Luan Daoist's heaven-opening relic?" Lu Ping said with a smile, "I was lucky enough to see a heaven-opening relic like this. That's why I know it." Tian Laozu didn't ask what it was. He smiled and said, "You're lucky?" Tian Laozu suddenly realized something. He said, "Do you think the Fire Phoenix clan came for this heaven-opening relic? Or are there many other heaven-opening relic left by the Luan Daoist on Scarlet Mist Island?" Tian Laozu said seriously, "It's highly possible. The Fire Phoenix clan is the direct descendant of the Luan Daoist, so it's highly possible that they can take the heaven-opening relic for themselves. This feather is only something that fell from the Luan Daoist's body. It's not even a magic weapon, yet it has such power. Moreover, the Luan Daoist contained in it will be very beneficial to one's cultivation in the future. If there really is more than one heaven-opening relic on Scarlet Mist Island, then the Fire Phoenix clan has a good reason to make such a big fuss." Jiang Tianlin seemed to have thought of something. He said, "Ever since Scarlet Mist Island emerged from the sea, the Fire Phoenix clan has never stopped exploring the depths of Scarlet Mist Island. It's not an exaggeration to say that they're persistent. Even the sects and factions of the Northern Sea aren't as diligent as the Fire Phoenix clan. If that's the case, then it makes sense that the Fire Phoenix clan has discovered some secret in the depths of Scarlet Mist Island." A few days later, under the secret instigation of Jinling's sect, the news that the Fire Phoenix clan was about to invade Scarlet Mist Island in the North Sea quickly spread throughout the North Sea, causing quite a stir in the North Sea. The news from the Eastern Sea seemed to prove that the rumors were true. The sects and factions strengthened the defenses of Scarlet Mist Island, but only by a little. It seemed that no faction in the Northern Sea's cultivation world could resist the Fire Phoenix clan, unless the sects and factions of the Northern Sea could unite and fight against their enemies. However, just as the sects and factions of the Northern Sea were doing their best to prepare for the possible invasion of the Fire Phoenix clan, the Fire Phoenix clan far away in the Eastern Sea had already found out about the actions of the sects and factions of the Northern Sea. Although they didn't know how the sects and factions of the Northern Sea knew that the Fire Phoenix clan would invade Scarlet Mist Island, since their goal had been seen through, the Fire Phoenix clan had no choice but to enter the Northern Sea in advance to attack in order to maintain the element of surprise. Just as the sects and factions of the Northern Sea were still hesitating, the Fire Phoenix clan suddenly arrived in the Northern Sea and launched a thunderous attack on Scarlet Mist Island. Under the leadership of Yin Jiuxiao, the leader of the Fire Phoenix clan, who had successfully advanced to the Pure Sun stage, the Fire Phoenix clan had gathered outside Scarlet Mist Island 2 peak adepts, 8 mid-Dharma adepts, 15 early Dharma adepts, and hundreds of core forging adepts. In the face of such a powerful force, the sects and factions of the Northern Sea were as silent as cicadas in winter. This time, the Fire Phoenix clan had invaded Scarlet Mist Island on a large scale. Yin Jiuxiao had taken away almost half of the Fire Phoenix clan's power in one fell swoop. Although the sects and factions of the Northern Sea had slightly strengthened their defenses on Scarlet Mist Island under the influence of Jinling's secret messages, in the face of the Fire Phoenix clan's tyrannical power, they could only crumble. In just 3 days, The entire outer region of Scarlet Mist Island had been occupied by the Fire Phoenix clan, the Jade Sword clan, the Soaring Feather sect, the Lingu sect, the Chongming sect, and the various small factions of the Northern Sea, as well as many alliances of independent practitioners, had all been taken over by the Fire Phoenix clan. Apart from that, the Sea Flame sect and the Shuayan Pavilion's territories had also been greatly reduced. For a time, the sects and factions of the Northern Sea had joined forces to fight against the Fire Phoenix clan. More and more people hoped that at this time, the three strongest factions of the Northern Sea cultivation world, the Jinling sect, Xianling sect, and the Vast Sea sect, would join forces with the other sects and fight against the Fire Phoenix clan's invasion. In reality, although the Fire Phoenix clan was powerful, they had intentionally avoided Jinling, Xianling sect, and Vast Sea sect when they invaded Scarlet Mist Island. It was obvious that unless they had no other choice, the Fire Phoenix clan was unwilling to fall out with the three strongest sects of the Northern Sea. Yin Jiuxiao could see very clearly that as long as the three sects did not show up, especially Jinling, the largest sect in the Northern Sea that was about to become a large sect, was unwilling to clash with the Fire Phoenix clan, then the entire Northern Sea cultivation world would definitely be in a state of disunity. They would not be a match for the Fire Phoenix clan at all. This time, the Fire Phoenix clan's invasion of the Northern Sea was very big. If everything went smoothly, it would naturally be best if they could avoid the alliance of the three great sects of the Northern Sea. If that didn't work, then Yin Jiuxiao would not hesitate to fight against the sects of the Northern Sea. So what if that Jinling had a treasured ship? He, Yin Jiuxiao, really did not care about it at all. The envoys of the various sects all asked Jinling for help. Jinling's sect master, Lu Tianling, repeatedly expressed his support for the sects of the Northern Sea and condemned the Fire Phoenix clan's barbaric behavior. However, he still did not take any further action. The Fire Phoenix clan, on the other hand, had schemed for a long time, so they naturally would not take these words to heart. However, Yin Jiuxiao was still wary of them, so he still gave an explanation to Jinling's questions. No matter what, it was just wrangling. What the Fire Phoenix clan needed right now was time. Although Jinling had expressed his stance, he had not actually taken any action. Xianling sect and Vast Sea sect, on the other hand, did not have the qualifications to stand out. Even though these two sects were equally influential in the Northern Sea, now that Jinling's power had been established in the Northern Sea, they naturally would not jump out and challenge Jinling's authority at this time. The public opinion in the Northern Sea was turbulent. Xianling sect and Vast Sea sect released rumors, saying that Jinling was conserving his strength and perhaps had secretly come to an agreement with the Fire Phoenix clan. Jinling was indeed not fit to lead the Northern Sea. However, Jinling completely ignored these rumors. It was only when the sects of the Northern Sea realized that without Jinling's leadership, they really could not fight against the Fire Phoenix clan did they automatically quell the rumors and realize Jinling's true intentions during this period of time. Jinling was using this opportunity to announce his position to the entire Northern Sea's cultivation world. This position must be voluntarily acknowledged by all the sects, including Xianling sect and Vast Sea sect. The envoys of Xianling sect and Vast Sea sect finally arrived. They begged Jinling to come forward and organize the cultivators of the Northern Sea to resist the invasion of the Fire Phoenix clan. This could be considered as them acknowledging Jinling's position as the ruler of the Northern Sea. Jinling's ship that was anchored in the waters of Scarlet Mist Island immediately set sail. Jiang Tianlin sat on the ship and confronted the Fire Phoenix clan outside the waters of Scarlet Mist Island. However, after Jinling started the ship, he did not make any further moves. The Fire Phoenix clan seemed to be afraid after Jinling took action and did not further expand their territory on Scarlet Mist Island. Although there were small skirmishes between the two sides, the high-level cultivators on both sides restrained each other and did not further escalate the conflict between the two sides. The Fire Phoenix clan was trying their best to buy time, but in reality, Jinling was doing the same. After Tianqin Laozu obtained the opportunity of creating the heavens, other than Jiang Tianlin, Tianchang Laozu, Tian Feng, and the others who stayed behind to watch over Jinling's territory on Scarlet Mist Island, the seven Dharma adepts, Lu Ping, Tianqin Laozu, Tianqing Laozu, Tian Lian, Tian Yong, Wan Yu, and Lu Qin'er, went deeper into Scarlet Mist Island. The reason they went deeper into Scarlet Mist Island was to confirm the true purpose of the Fire Phoenix clan's invasion this time. In the depths of Scarlet Mist Island, whether there was only this feather or something even more shocking than the heavens was hidden, no matter what, Zhenling and the others had to try their best to obtain as many benefits as possible before the Fire Phoenix clan invaded. It was a pity that this time, Zhenling had somewhat miscalculated. He had spread the news of the Fire Phoenix clan's invasion in advance. Originally, he had done this so that the various sects in the North Sea could prepare and delay the Fire Phoenix clan when the war broke out. However, he did not expect that the Fire Phoenix clan had been coveting Scarlet Mist Island for a long time. Just as the news of the invasion started in the North Sea cultivation world, the Fire Phoenix clan entered the North Sea much earlier than expected. Apart from Lu Ping and Luan Yu, the rest of the cultivators who entered the depths of Scarlet Mist Island in advance were all outstanding fire attribute cultivators in Zhenling. They were like fish in water in the depths of Scarlet Mist Island and were able to take advantage of the geographical advantage. Lyra Laozu, who had obtained the Luan Daoist's feather, was the key to this investigation. Luan Yu and Lu Qiner were both direct descendants of the genuine top-grade Luan bloodline. Since the true spirit feather of the Luan Daoist had been discovered on Scarlet Mist Island, Luan Yu and Lu Qiner might be able to help. Lu Ping clearly remembered that when Scarlet Mist Island first emerged from the sea, it was because of Lu Qiner's guidance that he had repeatedly seized the initiative during the nimble plundering of the world. As for Lu Ping himself, although the cultivation technique he cultivated countered the continuous volcanoes of Scarlet Mist Island, he was, after all, one of the three great experts in Zhenling. With Celestial Phenomenon Laozu overseeing Heavenly Spirit Mountain and Jiang Tianlin controlling the treasured ship, this investigation into the depths of Scarlet Mist Island could only be led by Lu Ping. Patriarch. Yin Jiuxiao nodded, then turned to the two great cultivators of the clan and asked, "What's the current situation?" A red-faced, thick-browed great cultivator of the Fire Phoenix race hesitated for a moment, then said, "The current situation isn't as smooth as we expected. Our estimation of the strength of the North Sea's cultivation world is somewhat insufficient." Yin Jiuxiao was taken aback, then said with some dissatisfaction, "Insufficient? But what other trump cards does that Zhenling still have hidden?" The other great cultivator with a tall and long neck said, "It's not Zhenling, it's the other sects. When our clan entered the North Sea this time, we paid the most attention to this Zhenling. No matter how much strength Zhenling has hidden, it's completely within our sect's expectations. Little did we know that because Zhenling has become more and more powerful, the other sects have been unable to conceal their sharpness, so they've decided to hide their strength and bide their time. Instead, it's these sects who have truly hidden their strength. Now, under the pressure of our clan, Zhenling's attitude is ambiguous, and the other sects have revealed much of their hidden strength in a hurry." "What a good Zhenling!" Yin Jiuxiao laughed, then said, "Using our clan to invade Scarlet Mist Island this time, they first retreated in order to gain the righteous cause of leading the North Sea, then using our clan's strength to force out the other sect's hidden strength. Next, they should be joining forces with the other sects of the North Sea to officially fight against our clan. It's said that this Zhenling sect master is a rare female hero in the cultivation world. Now that I've personally experienced it, her open schemes truly live up to her reputation." The red-faced, thick-browed great cultivator said, "Even the most brilliant methods must be backed by absolute strength. Could it be that this Zhenling really thinks that they have the strength to fight against our clan just because they have a treasured ship?" The other long-necked great cultivator glanced at Yin Jiuxiao and said, "We absolutely cannot be careless. If the other sects of the North Sea really join forces, it will be a very troublesome matter for our clan. Our clan's true goal for this trip to the North Sea this time is not to start a war with the other sects of the North Sea. It's best if we can stall for time. We only need to obtain the treasures on Scarlet Mist Island. Although Scarlet Mist Island is good, it is ultimately not our clan's resting place. Moreover, this time, our clan is mobilizing on a large scale, and the clan master has already suffered a lot of criticism. If it wasn't for the clan master becoming a pure young cultivator and temporarily suppressing the opposing forces within the clan, we might not even be able to make this trip. If we get caught in the quagmire of a war with the other sects of the North Sea, as time passes, I'm worried that the East Sea will become unstable. The red-faced cultivator wanted to say more, but Yin Jiuxiao raised his hand and stopped him, saying, although Fifth Brother's words are reasonable, if we can obtain the treasures on Scarlet Mist Island this time, we won't hesitate to start a war with the other sects of the North Sea. The long-necked cultivator still wanted to argue, but Yin Jiuxiao continued, do the two of you know why the old man was able to successfully overcome the pure young lightning tribulation this time? The red-faced cultivator said loudly, of course it's because Big Brother's forces are superior. The long-necked cultivator hesitated. Could it be related to this Scarlet Mist Island? Yin Jiuxiao nodded, saying, that's right. What the old man can confirm is that there is more than one treasure that can help the old man advance to pure yang. As long as we can find it again, it's not impossible for us two brothers to have a glimpse of pure yang in the future. Yin Jiuxiao's words caused the eyes of the two great cultivators to light up, and even their breathing became hurried. Yin Jiuxiao smiled slightly and seemed to be mumbling to himself. What's more, the old man suspects that there may be something even more exciting than the treasure that can help us advance to pure yang on Scarlet Mist Island. If we can obtain it this time, our Fire Phoenix clan may even be able to build a foundation like the Green Sea Snake and the Peacock royalty for tens of thousands of years. If that's the case, what's the harm in fighting with the other sects of the North Sea? At this moment, a fiery red streak of light approached from afar, arriving in front of Yin Jiuxiao and the others. Without waiting for the person riding the streak of light to appear, his voice was already heard, saying, Grandfather, there's news from the depths of Scarlet Mist Island. There are Jinling practitioners there. Could it be that this Jinling has already discovered the secret of our clan's invasion of Scarlet Mist Island? Yin Jiuxiao's face darkened, and he said, Coffin, you're already a peak mid-Dharma adept now, with 1 foot in the late Dharma stage. How can you still act so rashly? In this way, even if you manage to obtain the treasure of creation and successfully pass through the second trial, it will be extremely difficult for you to advance further in the future. The person who had come was the first direct descendant of the third generation of the Fire Phoenix clan, Yin Jiuxiao's grandson, Flame Coffin, who had once competed with Lu Ping and the others in the Battle of Phantom Island. After the battle at the Nine Mysteries Tower in Central Earth, the third generation of adepts in the world of practitioners had begun to advance to the late Dharma stage. This Flame Coffin's level of practice had increased extremely quickly, but he had taken some shortcuts, which caused his foundation to be unstable. When his level of practice had increased to the bottleneck of the mid-Dharma stage, he was a little apprehensive when faced with the second trial. However, not long ago, there was news from the Green Sea Snakes that Chu Haitian had successfully passed through the second trial and advanced to the late Dharma stage. This Flame Coffin could no longer sit still, and he wanted to ask his grandfather, who had just advanced to the pure yang stage, for advice. Yin Jiuxiao thought very highly of this grandson of his, and when they talked, he revealed a little about Scarlet Mist Island. Thus, this Flame Coffin became the vanguard of the invasion of Scarlet Mist Island. Seeing that the Flame Coffin was hesitant, Yin Jiuxiao pondered for a moment, then said, Jinling has yet to discover the secret of Scarlet Mist Island. He must have guessed our goal through this operation, and he wants to find out the secret of Scarlet Mist Island before we do. Otherwise, Jinling would have used all the strength of the clan to snatch it, instead of just sending a few people to investigate. Lu Tianling, it turns out that when the old man said that you could kill 2 birds with 1 stone, he had underestimated you. This is killing 3 birds with 1 stone. The Flame Coffin tried his best to hide the anxiety in his heart and asked, Grandfather, what should we do now? Should I bring people to kill the Jinling practitioner in the depths of Scarlet Mist Island? Yin Jiuxiao glared at him and said, Kill him? With just you? If the old man's guess is correct, Jinling's celestial phenomenon is overseeing Heavenly Spirit Mountain, and the treasured ship that is confronting our clan is being overseen by another great cultivator of Jinlings. If that's the case, the one in the depths of Scarlet Mist Island should be the world-famous North Sea Water Sword Immortal. Are you sure you're his match? The flame coffin's expression froze. Yin Jiuxiao clearly didn't expect to get an answer from him, so he directly said, "It's better for the old man to go in." The red-faced great cultivator immediately said anxiously, "Clan head, you can't. That Jinling's treasured ship is now bearing down on us. If the clan head isn't here, who can stop that treasured ship? What's more, it's just a third-generation disciple. It's not that the clan head has to personally take action." Yin Jiuxiao waved his hand and said with a smile, "This third-generation cultivator is not to be underestimated. It's not that the old man is underestimating the two of you, but this person's strength is so strong that the two of you may not be his match. As for that Jinling's treasured ship, as long as the old man doesn't take the initiative to attack, I think that Jinling will not dare to shed all pretense of cordiality with our clan." At the same time, under the leadership of Tiancheng Laozu and Chen Lian, Jinling's group of 7 had already arrived at the place where Tiancheng Laozu had previously ambushed the early Dharma adept of the Fire Phoenix clan. That feather had been discovered by the adept of the Fire Phoenix clan, and it had been snatched by Tiancheng Laozu, who had just arrived. Chapter 1379. Although Tiancheng Laozu had been in and out of the central region of Scarlet Mist Island several times, he was still quite wary of the threats in the central region. Even a Dharma adept would have to tread carefully in there, as if treading on thin ice. Lu Ping and the rest of the group of 7 went deep into the central region of Scarlet Mist Island. Along the way, Tiancheng Laozu talked endlessly about the dangers in the central region and the things to take note of, for fear that something would happen to the group. Although they were following an old road that Ancestor Tiancheng had taken in the central area of Scarlet Mist Island, because of the volcanic eruption and the flowing hot magma that might occur at any time, even the old road could become a new dangerous place at any time. The group that was walking stopped because of Lu Ping's sudden stop. Tiancheng Laozu turned around and saw that Lu Ping's gaze was fixed on a green-gold flame floating in the flowing lava a few hundred feet away. A mid-grade Earth-level spiritual fire, the heavenly green-golden flame. Tiancheng Laozu naturally saw that Lu Ping was tempted and hurriedly stopped him. "No hurry, no hurry. You can't take this flame." Lu Ping was surprised. "Why? This heavenly green-golden flame is of a high grade. Even though it is not suitable for alchemy or forging weapons, it is an excellent item for cultivation among spiritual fires of the same grade." Tiancheng Laozu said helplessly, "This spiritual fire has been discovered by the practitioners that entered and exited Scarlet Mist Island for many years. However, until now, no one has taken this spiritual fire away. Why do you think that is?" Tiancheng Laozu did not wait for Lu Ping to answer and continued. "Although this spiritual fire is of good quality, it was coincidentally nurtured by this lava river and suppressed it at the same time. If this spiritual fire is taken away, the lava river will definitely explode. At that time, it may not only cut off our escape route, but it may also directly endanger our safety." The celestial Zither ancestor clearly did not believe it either. He said, "It's just a mid-grade earth spirit fire. How can it be so wondrous? Also, even if the river of lava goes berserk, are we unable to suppress it with our strength?" Tiancheng Laozu shook his head. "Sai, you may not believe it, but the truth is that it is so dangerous. Because of this spiritual fire, over the past few decades, 3 Dharma adepts have either died or been seriously injured. As for core forging adepts, even more have died." Tiancheng still did not believe it, but then Lu Ping suddenly said, "What if we can suppress this lava river?" "What?" Tiancheng Laozu hurriedly advised, "It is better not to take this risk. After all, it is just an earth-level spiritual fire. If a core forging adept saw it, he might be able to give it a try. But we are all Dharma adepts. We cannot take this risk." Before Tiancheng Laozu could finish speaking, Lu Ping had already grabbed the heavenly green-golden flame from afar. At the same time, Tiancheng Laozu and Lu Ping seemed to have a tacit understanding. They were already standing beside Lu Ping, ready to suppress the boiling lava. Tiancheng Laozu looked at the two of them with his mouth wide open, speechless. Finally, he said, "Hi," and hurriedly ordered Tianyong, Tianlian, and the others to be ready to work together to deal with any unexpected situation. The heavenly green-golden flame swayed in the air above the lava river. It was obvious that it had been grabbed by Lu Ping. Then, Lu Ping felt as if a force was trying to break free from his control. The corner of Lu Ping's eye twitched, and he suddenly turned his outstretched arm back. The spiritual fire could no longer resist, and it left the lava river and floated towards Lu Ping. "It's coming!" Tian Chung Laozu let out a strange cry. In fact, when Lu Ping caught the spiritual fire in the air, the originally calm lava river began to gush. And when Lu Ping completely pulled the spiritual fire over and left the lava river, the already turbulent lava river suddenly began to boil violently. Fiery red lava began to splash everywhere, and the commotion became louder and louder. There was even a 3-foot-high wave of lava on the surface of the lava river, and it rushed out of the original channel of the lava river. If that was all, it would not be a big deal. But when the lava river began to riot, the area where everyone was standing suddenly began to shake. Muffled rumbling sounds came from underground, and a volcano thousands of feet away suddenly rolled out thick red smoke. Then, a crashing sound came from the top of the volcano, and red lines of fire spread from the top of the mountain to the foot of the mountain. After the eruption of this volcano, several volcanoes around them also emitted thick red smoke at the same time. Flashes of fire flickered on the top of the mountain, and it looked like they were about to burst out. Once that happened, the flowing lava of the surrounding volcanoes would form a huge lava fire net, trapping everyone in it. At the moment when the lava river boiled, Tian Chung Laozu, Tian Qin Laozu, and the others had already tried to suppress the increasingly violent lava river, but they could only delay it, not stop it. Seeing that everyone was about to be trapped in the lava, Lu Ping, who had already subdued and refined the heavenly green-golden flame, suddenly made a move. Unbeknownst to everyone, a thick crimson cloud had formed above Chiamo Island that was shrouded in crimson volcanic dust. As Lu Ping cast his secret spell, a crimson rain of mud fell on the volcanic area where the group was. The scarlet mud rain became heavier and heavier, and finally became a heavy downpour. After the red mist dust floating in the air was washed away by Lu Ping's art of traveling through clouds and summoning rain, the raindrops that fell were no longer scarlet, and the original scarlet cloud in the air had turned into a thick ink-like dark cloud. The sound of chi-chi sounded around everyone, and white mist rose from the ground and the lava along with the heavy rain. From a distance, it looked like a fairyland. As the rain continued to intensify, the surging magma was suddenly cooled into pieces of green-black rocks. The volcano in the distance, which was already steaming with red mist, seemed to be quieter under the pouring of the heavy rain. The lava river was originally in a low-lying place in this area, but because of the heavy rain after the magma cooled and surged, streams of water gradually converged towards the lava river. A series of explosions sounded. Although Lu Ping's art of traveling through clouds and summoning rain was tyrannical, the lava river was close to the power of heaven and earth. The converged water could not completely cool down the surging lava river, but the originally violent lava river also lost its previous power and became silent again. The dark clouds in the air dispersed, and a bright beam of light fell down, bringing a trace of freshness to the island that was filled with red mist all year round. But as the red mist spread to other parts of the island, this beam of light did not last long before it was blocked by the red mist again. Ancestor Tian Chung, Ancestor Tian Qin, and the others looked at each other in dismay. They didn't expect that the raging magma river that they couldn't suppress together would be extinguished by Lu Ping's rain. What's more, they didn't expect that on this scorching island, Lu Ping could cast such a powerful water elemental spell. "You're amazing." After a while, Tian Chung Laozu murmured for a long time and finally spat out these 3 words. Lu Ping laughed and opened his left palm. The cyan gold heavenly green golden flame was constantly rising and falling in Lu Ping's palm. Lu Ping had gone through so much trouble and made such a big noise just for this earth-rank middle-grade spiritual fire. Then Lu Ping opened his right palm again, and a bright yellow flame of 7 inches suddenly jumped up, Tianqin Laozu's eyelids twitched and she said, 7-inch spiritual flame. You went through so much trouble to get this heavenly green golden flame, just to let this 7-inch spiritual flame devour it and advance, right? Tianqin Laozu and the others looked at Lu Ping in surprise. They saw Lu Ping put his palms together and the two flames magically fused together. The cyan gold flame and the bright yellow flame were constantly flickering and jumping in the fire. Lu Ping didn't have time to answer Tianqin Laozu's question. When the two flames fused together and devoured each other, he hurriedly blew up 3 top-grade spirit stones around the two flames in the air. Under the spirit explosion technique that Lu Ping used, rich spiritual energy gathered between the two flames. Then the originally bright yellow 7-inch spiritual flame gradually gained the upper hand, and the flickering flame also had a bright yellow color. The jumping of the flame gradually stabilized, and the flickering light of the whole flame completely turned bright yellow. At this moment, the originally only 7 inches flame suddenly grew 1 inch higher and became 8 inches. 8-inch spiritual flame, heaven rank middle grade. After devouring this earth rank middle grade heavenly green golden flame, Lu Ping's 7-inch spiritual flame finally underwent a qualitative change and was upgraded from heaven rank low grade to heaven rank middle grade. It has advanced. Previously, the only secret skill you mastered was the blood condensing pill. In the past few years of secluded cultivation, your alchemy skills have not fallen behind. According to the news you brought back from the Tao altar world, this 7-inch spiritual flame is the most useful for alchemists to comprehend the secret skill of pill transformation. Now, how many secret skills of pill transformation have you mastered? Tianqin Laozu's eyes flashed when he saw the 7-inch spiritual flame in Lu Ping's hand. Lu Ping smiled bitterly and said, "Martial uncle, how can it be so easy to obtain the secret skill of pill transformation? These years, I have gone through almost all the elixirs I can refine from beginning to end, but I have only comprehended the secret skill of golden resilience pill." What? This time, it was Tianqin Laozu's turn to be surprised. You really comprehended another secret skill of pill transformation? So, Taoist Gui's guess was not unreasonable. Are the 13 kinds of heaven and earth spirit fires really effective in comprehending the secret skill of pill transformation? By the way, which secret skill of pill transformation did you say you comprehended? Golden resilience pill? Isn't that a miraculous elixir that can be used to strengthen the physical body? Boy, you actually comprehended this kind of secret skill of pill transformation? Tianqin Laozu seemed to be a little jealous at this time. I heard that you have a golden nut tree, and with all kinds of secret skills, you can harvest 36 golden nuts almost every 60 years. Doesn't this mean that you can unceasingly refine golden resilience pills in the future? This is really enviable. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.